From the TFNB Your Bank for Life studio. Now, it's time for the SMOAK Show. Presented by IdealMRI.com. Premium quality MRIs, convenient, affordable. That's ideal. And by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance. We are Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, your insurance provider built by Texans for Texans. And we've been protecting families in our great state since 1952. TFNB, your bank for life, serving Central Texans since 1889. It's time for the SMOAK Show on 365 Sports with David Smoke and Craig Smoke.
And good afternoon on this Tuesday morning. Hope you've had a really good day. We're going to hear momentarily from Arizona State Director of Athletics, Graham Rossini. He will join us live. And, of course, many things to get to. Some college football where a team has a running back in deep trouble. And also a couple of notes, including how Michigan, the president, looks at the future and the Protect College Sports Act in their terms and how they view it, which is what every college needs to do, is look at how it also affects them in the conference. Craig, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. So 3 o'clock in the afternoon is a good morning for you? That's what you just said. So good morning, folks. It's 3 p.m., you work night shift. It's the morning time for sure. Yeah. But good afternoon, everybody. And glad to be here as always. Rolling on in the chat. Hello to everyone there and everybody else watching around whatever other platform you may be watching or listening at whatever point you may be doing that. We appreciate it. However you do join us. So glad to be here.
Got some interesting notes also later in the show. Some things that have kind of cracked me up with the World Cup with a couple of shockers yesterday. We'll have that a little bit later on. And Scott Dockerman of theathletic.com wrote a piece on Bill Snyder, the great, twice he rebuilt Kansas State. The first time was one of the, if not the best ever, rebuild in college football history. As the Athletic is going through a stretch with the World Cup in town, what was college football like the last time that the United States hosted the World Cup in the 90s? And one of those, of course, is Bill Snyder. Kirk Cignetti was an interview from earlier. That was with On 3. And the other one was the greatest players in the 90s. So they're kind of reflecting back on the decade of the 90s with college football. Graham Rossini, ASU Director of Athletics, will join us momentarily. Also today, and I'm a big proponent on special teams. I've seen the favorite school, my favorite team, I guess you could say, has just at times just blanked themselves with awful special teams, whether it's field goal kicking, punting, getting blocked, etc., missing. And Connor O'Gara had put up a note, which we'll get to around 4 o'clock today, about special teams. And then we're going to look back at who are the top 10 special teams based on all the analytics and efficiency. We'll do that from last year. We'll do that today at 4 o'clock. Let's put up the note. Rez, on Deion Sanders. Let's start with that, and then we can go back and look at a couple of other headlines after our segment with Graham Rossini. Deion Sanders saying that he is free, cancer-free. After a year when he had bladder surgery, he owes this to what a lot of people who have had any kind of delicate surgeries these days, robotics. If you've had any kind of organ taken out or anything like that, robotics now, doctors are still very much involved, but basically the machine, robotics, the robot type equipment is doing the cutting and everything else. And he says he is cancer-free and feels really good. Better, of course, than he did a year ago when he announced that he had cancer. And that's great news in his bladder.
Yeah, it is. It's a fantastic news for Dion and for anybody who is just not an ugly person that would wish otherwise. Yeah, that's great to know that he's feeling better. And certainly this time last year, he was in really rough shape, or at least it appeared that way. And he was just kind of meandering on into media days and then in and out of there real quick. And I don't know, you could kind of get the vibes he wasn't feeling all that well. And it was well documented that he was dealing with a lot. So between that and just all the other issues that he's faced, I'm glad to see that he appears to, at least for now, knock on wood, be on the other side of the health battles. And you just kept saying robotics, but yeah, he had a robotic surgery. And so there are robotics now that can, get very precise. And he had to get part of his bladder reconstructed using part of his intestine, which was part of the robotics that you just kept mentioning there. And so, that was part of what he dealt with amongst various other things. And it all worked out well in the end. That's what's important. And I'm great. I'm glad to hear that news. That's awesome. Hopefully he can just be healthy for a little while, because it does seem like it's always been one thing or another with Dion, unfortunately. I
remember when I had to make a decision when I had a prostate removed that my cousin, who is an emergency room doctor, retired but does a lot, said, find somebody that is excels in robotics with that procedure. And he knew who my urologist was and gave me the thumbs up. And that's a big deal. I don't know how it works. Otherwise, it does. Like I said, very efficient. We are now joined by the Director of Athletics at Arizona State University, Graham Rossini, joins us on the SMOAK Show. Craig SMOAK and David SMOAK. And Graham, hey, thank you very much for your time. As you have that gorgeous stadium behind you, we have spent time there before. That's where my father and Craig's grandfather got his master's degree back in the 60s, by the way. I don't know, you didn't know that. And I just love what it used to be, of course, Sun Devil Stadium.
Still the same venue. Still a lot of great memories that have happened here in Tempe. We're excited that football season is right around the corner, and great to be with you guys today. Thanks for having us on.
Thank you very much. I want to start with, I saw Sparty was in London touring the London for the game you guys have later against Kansas. How much goes into all of that as far as the planning? How much have you picked brains of others who have been to Dublin or whatever else, or your experiences yourself?
Yeah, we can't wait. You're right. We've got Sparky over in London this week doing all the sights and scenes, getting ready for the trip in September. And we'll get some great content this week that we'll be able to share with our fans. And we've got a ton of Sun Devils making this trip across the pond to watch us play at Wembley Stadium, one of the world's most iconic venues. So really can't wait for this opportunity. And yeah, it's fun how it came about. We got word through the Big 12 that there was a promoter looking at a game in London on the heels of the success of what we've seen in Dublin and the games in Ireland. And so we were quick to raise our hand. We've got a very international profile throughout our university, and the fact that we wanted to be one of the first teams to play in the UK was a great opportunity. And so we can't wait. We'll actually play on Saturday the 19th, and then we'll open up a new ASU London campus right there that Monday the 21st. So a lot of work behind the scenes. We've been lucky. Our football operations team, Jason Cervecco, Brian McGinnis, Lexi Godfrey, and others are really, really good at this. And so they've been doing a lot of homework, talking to the schools that have gone overseas before. We're lucky with the Arizona Cardinals, who've played in London before, and really picking their brain and making sure that we can be as minimal disruptions to the football schedule and cadence as we can, while also recognizing that this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for our program.
Not Sparty, Michigan State, but thank you for the answer on the trip to London. Craig?
How much did you have to convince, or not? I don't know how much of it was his choice to begin with, but when you approach Kenny Dillingham and say, hey, man, what do you think about the idea of playing in London? How does that conversation kind of go, knowing that, hey, this is a bit different and this is going to throw a little bit of a wrench in what is normally kind of a normal routine during a season? Going overseas is a little bit different.
Yeah, Coach was very open-minded, and we're certainly not going to say yes to something that doesn't make sense from a football standpoint. And so our head coach, his assistants were very involved in that process. And we wanted to make sure that we were setting the trip up for success and understanding that, hey, week 3 might be a better opportunity than week 0, especially when it's going to be an important Big 12 game against Kansas. Kansas is a great program, and so we know we've got a work cut out for ourselves. And so making sure that the timing made sense, the conference was able to ensure both teams getting a bye weekend on the back end. So We got that week to recover and reacclimate as we get to the States, and then we'll pick up a game against Hawaii in week 5 and then resume the Big 12 schedule. So a lot of details had to be right for us to say yes, and the Big 12 was a great collaborator with us. A lot of conversation with Kansas to make sure that we were all on the same page in terms of what's the best opportunity for this to be a great showcase for the Big 12 and everything we're building in our conference. And without our head coach's support, there's no way we say yes to this.
How do you describe in your own ways Kenny Dillingham?
Wow, I don't think there's enough adjectives for it, but he's perfect for us, and he's an energy giver. And the moment he got back to Tempe, it really set our market on fire, and we feel that energy every single day. And you look at the success that they've had, 19 wins over the last 2 seasons is rarefied air in the history of Sun Devil football, and so that's really as good of a 2-year run as we've seen, and he's hungry for more. And I love his motivation. I love his consistency. What you see is what you get. The way that he is on the sidelines and interacting with his team is the same way that he's in the office. He just brings the energy every single day, and he loves his school, most importantly. I think we're unique at this phase in our department where we've got 9 of our head coaches that went to ASU. I'm an alum. Our deputy AD is alum, a number of people throughout the department. And so it's a personal lifestyle that we're living here, and we're hungry and we're motivated. We're starting to find our rhythm in the Big 12. It's been such a good fit for us, but I'm a big believer that it all starts with leadership, and we've got the perfect head coach for us in Kenny Dillingham.
So you're not so new to the Big 12 anymore. I mean, it kind of feels like now everybody's settling in all these moves that were made across the country a couple of years ago. Where do you find yourself now compared to maybe where the school found itself originally? And what do you feel best about? What do you feel like still needs some work to just feel better about your place in the grand scheme of things?
Yeah, I mean, we're excited. I think all things considered, I grew up in the Pac-12, was part of our baseball program when we were in the Pac-12, lived in the Pac-12 days. And so once we recognized that that wasn't going to exist in the way that we all knew it, the Big 12 was easily the best fit for us. And 2 years in, I can say that with clarity, and that this is the perfect fit for us. This is a dynamic, innovative conference that fits the DNA of our institution. We've got great leadership in Brett Yormark and what he's doing to build the brand of the Big 12, certainly in football, but you look across all the sports in our league that are having success, namely including men's basketball. It's been a great fit for us. And the fact that we were able to enter with 3 other schools that we know very well, coming over for the Pac-12, learning from the 4 that joined ahead of us, and really kind of understanding as they enter the conference, maybe things that they would have planned for or done differently. That was very helpful as we onboarded in to the Big 12. And then you look at the 16 institutions that we have now in this national footprint, and you've got major metropolitan areas, you've got incredible college towns, we've got unbelievable television distribution with our partners like Fox and ESPN, and now we're adding TNT and others into the mix as well. So very excited for the growth of the Big 12. We're proud to be a part of it. And we feel like as an institution, we bring a lot to the table. Certainly athletically, we won 5 Big 12 titles this year, the most that we've had since 2007, 2008. We're very progressive and successful academically, and still having this focus of talent development organization and our 640 athletes that pick us. We want to use this time in the Big 12 and this national footprint to expose them to more connections and relationships, to really showcase the stories of performance and elite achievement in the way that athletes do. And it's been a blast. It's been a lot of fun to travel around the conference and understand the different traditions, the different fan bases, come back with a ton of ideas every single trip on things that we can improve or benefit here at ASU for our Sun Devil fans. So couldn't be happier with where we are 2 years in. We're finding our way successfully in the conference, I think, with 9 titles over 2 years, winning the inaugural Commissioner's Cup last summer. So it's been a blast. We're having a ton of fun in the Big 12, and we want to keep building something even bigger.
Yeah, and I like the Commissioner's Cup too. It's kind of like, well, I was watching, I guess, the Learfield Cup now, just the national version. But I like that there's one for the conference as well. And congratulations on winning. That's a cool deal there. When it comes to just college sports in general, I mean, you're a guy who pretty quickly got into the administration side of things right there at Arizona State after wrapping up your college career. If current Graham Rossini had talked to young Graham Rossini back then and said, hey, here's what it's going to look like in 2026, what do you think young Graham Rossini's response would have been?
Well, buckle your chin strap, because there's no playbook for the world that we're living in right now. But it's been fun. I was able to spend 5 years on the coaching staff in our baseball program, made several trips to the College World Series. And I think that really taught me the importance of being a part of something bigger than yourself, and the fact that everybody's got a unique contribution to make when you've got those types of championship aspirations and expectations on your program. And then getting to spend 13 years with the Diamondbacks as an executive, I really feel like that helped me cut my teeth as a sports business executive and understand that again, you need a full organizational effort if you're going to have success at the highest level, but also that, winning big can be messy. And I think understanding that reality of this is not for the faint of heart. And we're trying to build a better business unit. We're trying to elevate the reality and the ever-changing environment that we live in right now. And so I think coming back to ASU 4 or 5 years ago, 2 years in as an AD, really drawing from my career of understanding what our school is capable of. I spent 8 years here from 18 to probably 25 and really solidified my love for ASU and what this university has done for me at an individual level. And then really kind of refining a skill set, growing into my own in Major League Baseball, and then bringing all that experience back at a time that realignment was starting, NIL was beginning, the transfer portal was kind of off the rails. And so really using a career's worth of experience to apply to what we're doing. And again, like I mentioned before, keeping our athletes front and center is the focus. We want to win. We want to win to the highest level. We talk about Operation Rings and Banners as often as we can. We want to win championships. We don't want to do that at the expense of developing young people. This is still collegiate athletics. There's still an incredible opportunity for us to put all these young men and women out into society as superhumans with a skill set that they develop in an environment like ours. And we'll be agile. We'll be adaptable to the environment that's changing around us. We're finding our footing at an ASU level. There's a lot more that we want to do. But back to the original question, buckle your chin strap, because this crystal ball, this playbook has not existed, and we're kind of, flying the plane while we're building it in many respects.
Can you imagine this day and age of an athletic director being just an old coach because of how much the business side, and as you mentioned, all of what you have the fundraising part of it, plus the pro baseball side of it. Can you just go like the days of, he's retiring, let's give him the AD's job?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't have the benefit of that comparison or that perspective. I think one of the aspects that's probably helped me transition, and we haven't done anything yet, so we're just getting started, but out the gate, not being familiar or maybe conditioned to how it used to be, I don't think holds us back with how we think and how we build a strategy with our department. We're more focused on where we're going, and we're focused on complete alignment throughout the university, taking advantage of the scale of a place like ASU. That's a massive enterprise. Even beyond the Phoenix area, we've got a presence in Los Angeles. We've got a presence in Washington, D.C. We're opening up London. We've got an incredible leader in Dr. Michael Crow and everything that he's accomplished here over 20 plus years, which is so rare in higher education to have that kind of stability and leadership, but also his forward thinking and how he's driving us. And so, and then you put us in Phoenix, which we're biased. We love the Metroplex. We love Texas, but Phoenix is one of the most desirable markets in the country, 5th largest city in America. Million people new to the market in the last decade. You've got companies that are setting up shop here. So incredible opportunity all around us. And so our focus is more about, let's go be the group that designs what we're capable of and what the true potential of a place like ASU is. And it is hard to imagine how, really for decades, maybe a lot of schools weren't mindful of how this is going to evolve. And I don't believe that athletes should become employees. I do believe that we need to adjust in the environment. We need to give them the tools to be successful. We need to sophisticate the business of college sports while maintaining some version of amateurism, some version that's different than professional sports, and being mindful of the unique space that college sports has in our country.
Graham, what are your thoughts on, for example, the eligibility model that's now pushing forward, and the 5 years to play 5? There's other big picture things that are going on, various acts that we've seen kind of come and go, or that are still out there, like right now. But your thoughts on just kind of the big picture legislation? Where do you find yourself in the midst of all that, and in particular the eligibility, since that's one of the fresher and bigger decisions that's being made?
Yeah, we were very 5 for 5 advanced last week. I think that's a really important step forward, just to start to create some clarity, some standard conditions that we're all recruiting into, and that our coaches have a better sense of the environment. For so many years now, it's been this moving target, and we think stability is around the corner, and then you get into it, and members of the NCAA are trying to find ways to maybe skirt around rules. So I think the eligibility is a really important step forward, and getting rid of these eligibility lawsuits or cases that have been made to reinstate or take somebody out of professional sports. So that's an important step one. And then there's obviously a lot of conversation at a national level on how do we just create a uniform standard, whatever those standards are going to be. We're a big fan of creating the environment that we can actually plan and design what we're trying to do at ASU around. And so I'm excited about the idea of an agent registration and making sure that they're certified and registered, making sure that there's a fair commission on how they interact with an athlete and their family. I think we need to get into beyond the 5-for-5, a situation where one-time transfer feels appropriate. We can't be in a situation where every sport and every team is a free agent every single year. That's not realistic for how coaches are trying to develop young people and build their programs. And so whatever tactics might be effective in, again, curtailing the bad agents. There are a lot of really good agents in this space. There's some ones that are maybe not with the best interests of their client underway. We've got to fix that. We've got to fix this if somebody could be an athlete at 5 schools in 5 years, that feels like we're not doing our jobs creating the kind of environment. But there's the right conversation underway. I think we've all realized that the world we're in right now is not sustainable. This is not setting young people up for success. This is not in the spirit of fair competition and strategy. And so let's really have those honest conversations and look inside and figure out how we all could be able to contribute to a structure that protects the purity of college sports and what it means in a country like USA, but also allows us to be adaptable and create these new opportunities for these incredible student athletes that are showcasing themselves every single day.
I would think every athletic department, multiple sports, has somebody that is trying to get an extra year of eligibility. And then people get confused with the new rule that is now set that will affect eventually the class of 2022. They're not a part of it. How do you separate what's good for your coaches, programs, department with somebody trying to do that, and then also understanding what's best for the game?
Yeah, a lot would go into that, and really, staying close to the information. 5-for-5 got approved, and there's probably some follow-up information that everybody needs. And we're working with the Big 12, we're working with the NCAA to truly understand, like, what are these intricacies. Certainly for those that would have graduated this past spring, or in a moving forward scenario would have that 5th year. Is there going to be an opportunity, much like there was coming out of COVID and the pandemic? Recently, when we went to roster caps and there was a designated student athlete, is there going to be some kind of a similar provision for those that are just in this interim transition period and having a fair approach there? But, I think at the end of the day, we've got to look at the national environment, and the goal is to create consistency across membership and take it out of a state attorney general, take it out of the hands of a local jurisdiction and create the evil playing field, just in terms of the structure and the policies and procedures that we all operate with. So, we try to be fluid with our coaches and really understand any unique situation, but really kind of follow the notion of what we're trying to accomplish by creating this national standard as soon as we can.
What did you think of the Big 12 before you became a member of it? And what have you mentioned what you've learned and the various traditions, et cetera. What have you learned about the Big 12 that you may not have known?
Yeah, we weren't obviously as familiar with the conference, maybe occasionally competing in non-conference, not as much in football and basketball, honestly, but a lot of our sports would compete against Big 12 schools just in the routine non-conference, baseball, softball, and others. But it's been a blast to get to know the DNA of the conference, and now kind of in the 30th plus year, what this conference has meant, how it's grown over the last 3 decades, the fact that it is so Texas focused. That's a really good fit for us, with Texas being a really important enrollment market for ASU, and the fact that now we can maintain recruiting opportunities on the West Coast in California. We need to do that in all of our sports, but it really has opened up Texas to us in a way that's been exciting. Texas is our 3rd highest enrollment state. A number of our elite athletes in any sport would hail from that state. And so knowing that there's 4 schools in the conference that reside in Texas, and just the visibility, the connection, the fact that if you're in Dallas, if you're in Houston and you see ASU, well, there's a reasonable chance that we're going to be playing in your state multiple times over the course of a 5-year career. So again, there's many advantages like we talked about, but I think as we've plugged in 2 years in and really try to immerse ourselves in the culture of the Big 12, being a good teammate to the other institutions and helping drive the value of the brand at a national level, it's been great to be welcomed with open arms and be in a situation where that kind of mindset is encouraged by conference leadership at the same time.
25 or so, Graham, players from Texas on Kenny Dillingham's roster. We love CJ Fight. We've had him on. Great story. There's others. Marcus Uni from Copper's Cove's a big kid, the offensive lineman. The story of Grayson Rigdon, who was a 6-man football player who ended up winning the state championship. So many, and it's all over. It's not like just Houston or Dallas. It is throughout the state of Texas, and obviously Arizona State has done a great job here.
Yeah, again, you mentioned it. It's the best state in the country for high school football. We'd be foolish not to pay a lot of attention there, and we're starting to have that success where, as you mentioned, the Texas to Tempe connection is alive and well. One of our assistant coaches, Brian Carrington, does an unbelievable job with relationships throughout the state, and really has brought other coaches into that recruiting effort. We'd be foolish not to really focus a lot of time and energy on the state. And again, the fact that we can stay there. One of my favorite memories early on was we played at Texas State in the early part of the 24 season. It was a midweek game. We got a chance to get through that, a big win on the road, and then all of our coaches stayed in the state to recruit right afterwards. And so you have the benefit of staying in the state to go watch Friday Night Lights and be a part of that, and then have meetings on a Saturday morning afterwards, and really just solidify that, hey, we're going to be an important part of the Big 12. We're going to really take recruiting in the state of Texas seriously. And 2 years later, that's starting to bear some really, really significant fruit for our program.
I'd like to ask you the question. Every conference has its moments where there's some turmoil or whatever and tension. Do you feel good about the Big 12 as they move forward with next week, the Big 12 Media Days, and just everybody understanding that this conference, especially with it sometimes appears to be fighting uphill, they cannot break apart and not all get together and understand each other?
Well, I've always felt that there's tremendous unity within the 16 institutions, and there's going to be tough moments the way that any relationship may have tough moments. And that's not specific to maybe what happened recently with Texas Tech, but there's really open, honest communication that happens at all levels of our conference. And that starts with Commissioner Yormark. The chancellors and the presidents are very tuned in to the scenarios that we're navigating right now. I find this AD cohort to be as close as any. I mean, I feel like we've all got tremendous strength of relationship with one another and can have those honest conversations. We're not going to agree on every single item. And so the fact that we can create the environment where you can have conversation, you can be planful, you can be constructive. And at some point, we got to make a decision, and we've got to accept that decision and move forward as a unit of 16. And I don't feel like that's been fractured at all, and can't wait to see some colleagues next week in Frisco.
What was that like to obviously there's a major story out there. I'm not asking you to get in the details of it all or anything, but just to have to face that and kind of knowing the whole nation's watching at the same time, but also like we can't be like, I remember there's people on Twitter like, why hasn't Brett Yormark said something? It was like 2 hours old, this entire thing. And it's like, you gotta be smart about it. And I think clearly in the end, the Big 12 feels like it handled it well, but just can you kind of put into words from your perspective what navigating that challenge and that story that was out there the last several weeks in the national mainstream, what that was like from your perspective and as part of a fabric of the conference?
Well, it was really important to factor in as much information as possible and not snap to judgment, not make a statement to satisfy the masses or be clickbait for articles. Really understanding the gravity of that moment, and that it was a significant decision for the conference, for the membership, and at the same time, potentially precedent setting. And so I'm proud of the fact that we were able to be very deliberate, very open in the conversations that took place, very planful and understanding what this may mean as it plays out. And not just knee-jerk react to a situation or a social media narrative. And so I think the process was what it needed to be, and to be planful and to be mindful of that. That was important for Brett Yormark right out the gate. He was very open with us of, we will talk about this, we will convene, but there's a lot of information that needs to be collected. There's a lot of conversations to be had, and there's a lot of understanding on what this could mean moving forward. And I think that's the way it played out. And so we're back together, and again, can't wait to be together as a conference next week in Texas.
I know people who want to be pilots. My last question, and Graham, thank you so much. They want to be pilots, but they can't because they don't have very good vision. They're not 20/20 or 20/50. Did you really lose your baseball career because you were too tall?
I lost my baseball career because I wasn't very good. And I think that's the part. When you hit 225 in summer ball, I kind of figured that knock might be right around the corner. But I guess I was meant to be behind a desk. Baseball brought me out to ASU. I'm forever grateful. It was a dream of mine when I was 12 or 13 years old to be a Sun Devil. I got an on-deck circle, no stats, but I tasted it a little bit. I was a really good fall ball player. I've been really good in alumni games, but my destiny was to end up behind a desk, and I think that's where I'm most comfortable.
Well, hey, man, looking at your office and the view, I think you ended up just fine.
Yeah.
I think everything worked out just fine. I wanted to just wrap it up with this. We started off with London, and thank you so much for being so generous with your time today. Have you ever been to London before? And either if you have or you haven't, what are you most looking forward to from that experience outside of getting a win and everybody having fun? What are you looking forward to, like culturally, I guess, heading over to England? Yeah,
I've been lucky to spend quite a bit of time in London over my pro career, and I'm involved with a club in the English Football League, the Lincoln City Imps. We just got promoted up to the championship after last season. So it's been really fun for me to understand European soccer culture, European football culture, and really the parallels to college football are all over the place, in my opinion. And just the pride, the affinity, the love for the team that you have in English football is so similar to what college football fandom's like. And so I can't wait mostly for our fans to be a part of it. I mean, we're playing in Wembley, one of the world's most iconic stadiums, and the sporting and cultural and concert history that's taken place there. And we get to be front and center as a part of the Union Jack Classic. That's going to be a memory of a lifetime. But ultimately, we got 105 guys on the football team, and even some coaches that maybe not traveled overseas. I think we're going to unlock a curiosity and a spark for international travel, and just the sense of how big the world is for a lot of these young men, and really can't wait to give them that gift of international travel and putting them front and center in a different culture, and showcase what they do very well at the highest level, and give them that opportunity to shine, and hopefully unlock a curiosity that stays with them for the rest of their lives. And again, the spirit of college athletics and putting people in a position to succeed and giving them unique life experiences that enrich and prepare them for adulthood. I think this trip does all that and more, so we can't wait.
I love Tempe. I love Phoenix. I love the area. Lived there, like I told you, for 4 years. Just absolutely a huge Sun Devils fan growing up. Charlie Taylor, Jerry Smith, obviously Frank Cush, and all the great baseball names too. You did a great job hosting the Women's Championship. I know Phoenix can host many more. You guys host all that. Another experience that you get. Thank you so much, Graham Rossini from Arizona State, for joining our show.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. That's Graham Rossini with us, Arizona State Director of Athletics at Arizona State. And 5 Big 12 championships during this past, the current year that just wrapped up. And I've always said this. You've heard me say this as well, and I can't remember who I said this to before, but that is a monster campus, unbelievable views, beautiful place to live, lots of history, and they do seem to be on the verge of even more and more here very soon.
Yeah, I think there's a world of upside there for Arizona State. And in fact, I think not to spoil the kumbaya of the Big 12 and everything, but I think that's a program that you feel like could very well, if they play their cards right, have more opportunities in the future. You hope that they stick around and they're one of the spearhead teams of whatever successes the league has to come. But I do think that, yeah, ASU is kind of widely looked at as sort of untapped still with what all they could be. And so we're seeing signs of them at their best here in the last couple of years, just getting more of an up close front row view. And I just say that because I when you start to have that conversation about like, well, what if there was this kind of league, or what if there was that kind of league? I think Arizona State's a team that would be very much of interest.
Yeah, you never actually hear their name brought up, but they are.
But it's massive population. It's a great school. Like, so yeah, I think that like the point for me being not like to speculate or anything. I just think that, yeah, they have a ton of upside. I think they've reached some of it, but there's still a lot of it that's untapped. And obviously Kenny Dillingham's one of the best young coaches, just coaches period, in America. Can't wait to see what he does with another year under his belt, especially with a team that's got a lot of questions. But that London trip, that'll be really intriguing there early on, and just whether or not they feel the after effects of that, because some teams do. That kind of sticks with you. But I think they'll probably have, or as he pointed out, they've already picked the brains of others and learn how to best handle that. And so long as they're able to navigate that well, then yeah, I think that's going to be a really fun trip, a great experience, and should be one hell of a way to kind of kick off what's another good year for Kenny Dillingham. Just a matter of how good or maybe even great it could be. That's the part we don't know.
So you hire Dillingham, you get Molly Miller, who's turned the women's basketball program around immediately, and then of course you hire Randy Bennett to take over from Bobby Hurley, who was there for 11 years, and he's kind of a curmudgeon at times, but eventually I just saw nothing but great comments from people who worked at Arizona State that knew of him. It was time for a change. And Graham Rossini and Arizona State, thank you, Doug Tomorrow, and also Izzy Iyer for helping set that up for us today. When we come back, Scott Dockerman worked for theathletic.com. Bill Snyder and his legacy in college football. We have other highlights and headlines to get to in news. We'll do that. But Scott Dockerman, he's next, and this is 365 Sports. Marco's Pizza, fastest growing pizza brand in America. Bob Mock, with 5 locations he owns here in Waco, and just a handful of years ago, there was nothing. There were pizza places, but not Marco's. Sat down with him about a month or so ago and just talked business with him and how he got into the business. Always want to learn how people get to where they are. He was a delivery man for a pizza company. Then he started to get behind the counter, take orders, and even sometimes start making the pizzas. Then he started running the store, and now he owns 5 of them. Done a great job and understands the business very, very well. Marco's Pizza, fastest growing pizza brand in America. You go online with all sorts of specials, and not just pizza, but much more. Marco's Pizza, marcos.com. Pizza lovers get it.
Broker is your Lennox Premier dealer. Right now, qualified buyers can make no payments and get no interest financing for 12 months on a new Lennox home comfort system. Conditions apply. Call Ray Broker Air Conditioning and Heating Specialists for details and a free estimate.
The reason that their service is outstanding because the people they have working, behind the desk, and the folks working out in the garage, taking care of business. And they give you a date, they give you a time, and they're spot on, and they're professional, they take care of it, and they answer all your questions, and they're fun to work with.
Like Alan Samuels always said, Waco has a lot to offer, and so do we at Alan Samuels Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. Come by, let's be friends.
Bold are the adventurous. Determined are the leaders. Faithful are the healers. At Baylor, you'll find your calling, your people, and your purpose. Dare to be you, indeed.
It's time to compete against yourself, finding too many excuses not to work out combined with bad eating habits, and Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness can help reach inside your competitive soul. Discipline, getting results you've only dreamed about, personal training, group exercise classes, and even a tanning bed, world-class tennis facility, and pickleball courts and lessons available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, spacious, clean workout rooms, free weights, state-of-the-art technology, weight training equipment, and no intimidation. It's time for you to react today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Serving Central Texas since 1889, TFNB, your bank for life, takes pride in being more than a bank. TFNB, we remain committed to these principles. If you value them too, come join us. TFNB, your bank for life.
This 3 o'clock hour is brought to you by QC Kinetics. Feel better, move better, live better with regenerative medicine using your body's own healing abilities for natural pain relief. No surgery, no drugs, no downtime. With locations in Dallas and Houston at QCkinetics.com. It's time for the Smoke Show on 365 Sports with Craig Smoke and David Smoke.
A couple of other stories I want to get to, and this one here, Nebraska running back, their starting running back, Mekhi Nelson, is in deep trouble. He was arrested for assault on his pregnant girlfriend. He was probably going to be their starter. Nebraska hasn't had I think Amir Abdul. They haven't Rex Burkhead. They've had some good ones. Last year, of course, they had the stud that was drafted in the NFL draft. Craig, I just went blank on his name. Emmett Johnson was fantastic. But Mekhi Nelson arrested Monday in Florida, and it doesn't look good. About he and a disagreement. Again, we'll wait for all the information to come out. But his girlfriend's pregnant, and it didn't sound very good. Now we'll just have to wait for what is said from the authorities and also any evidence or others who might be witnesses.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, yeah, that doesn't sound good. I don't know what to add. There's not much details there. I guess I'll arrested Monday at Blue Flamingo Resort in Key West, booked on a misdemeanor battery charge is what it says, according to KOLN. And yeah, accused of aggravated battery involving a pregnant woman, and don't know too much else about that. Don't want to start reading tabloid reports of the whole police report and what all occurred, because we just typically don't do that often. But she's saying that he like ripped her bathing suit and various other things that, are not very good to be accused of doing, and really ugly. And so we'll see, I guess, how Nebraska decides to handle that. But certainly when you're on the front page or not the front page, but when you're in the New York Post and ESPN and you're in the headline for something along these lines, battery and your pregnant girlfriend, that's awful to be involved with. So every person has their day in court, including Mekhi Nelson. But it's not a good looking story for him, and certainly not a good result for Nebraska if in fact this all turns out to be true.
We are now joined by Scott Dockerman, theathletic.com, and the story at Kansas State. Bill Snyder was the Curt Cignetti of the 1990s. His Manhattan Miracle endures. And Scott, thank you very much for your time, and also a great feature on Snyder. Built them twice. The first one to this day, Nomad and Cignetti, of course, is early on in what he's done is insane. But to this day, I would think that's still the greatest rebuilding job perhaps in college football history, based on what we, of course, know about now with Cignetti. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm there with you on this, because when you look at Cignetti, and I covered 5 Indiana games last year. I went there a lot in the past, where there'd be 20,000 people there for Hoosier Hysteria on a Friday night in October, and then there'd be 20,000 people there at Memorial Stadium on a Saturday afternoon. But Indiana has access to talent. Indiana's had spikes where they've been ranked or they've gone to bowl games. They just haven't been very good holistically. Kansas State was a complete and utter wasteland when Bill Snyder got there. For over a 30-year period, they finished last in the Big 8 20 times, and 11 of those years they were winless in the Big 8, which was pretty top-heavy at that time. Not only that, but the year before, in 1988, Oklahoma ran for 768 yards to set a record on Kansas State, and it got to the point where Barry Switzer knew that they were getting close to a record, so he didn't even want them fielding punts. He just wanted to go ahead and run the whole time. And that just shows you how bad this program was, to where for 4 straight years going into Bill Snyder's era, Nebraska outscored them 183-9. And the list is just, you can go on and on. It's a wasteland. They wanted to drop football completely, but the Big 8 wouldn't let him. Otherwise, they'd have to go to the Missouri Valley. So what he was able to do at a place that was, again, the greatest wasteland in college football at a major conference level, and turn them into not only a decent program, but a competitive program that was competing for championships, to me is the greatest turnaround in college history. And you can make a case that there's nothing else really to compare it at any level of major American sports.
Was junior college football his transfer portal in so many ways, as far as turning that thing around?
It had to be. I mean, in Kansas, you just don't have the access to talent where he was located. And so the only way they could really do it was to go to junior colleges. And he told me that, a lot of those schools were, a little bit arrogant when it came to recruiting junior college kids. And we all know there, especially at that point, there was a reason there. It was academic, or they were in trouble. He did his investigations, but he got a lot of really good talent from that area. And then he changed the schedule. It's some people may put him down for it, but I think it was really smart, because instead of playing other power conference teams in your non-conference, you're playing teams that gives your program a chance to have some success. And one of the most fascinating parts to me that he explained was, early on, they were just so defeated as a program and those players, that he made sure that in practice that they were able to have victories on every single play. They rigged it. They cheated in some ways, but they made sure that there were wins for his team, so they could start to build confidence. And then that way it could parlay itself into feeling good about themselves, the program, the direction, and then as gradually they parlayed those victories into real wins and changed the kind of the mindset of that program.
The AD at the time, Steve Miller, was starting a coaching search. Obviously, Bill Snyder ended up being the perfect fit forever. But Was he the first choice? Was he the main guy, or was it something like sometimes somebody falls in your lap?
Yeah, he had a couple of coaches that he was interested in. One was from, I think it was Memphis State that he was looking at. John Fox, who went on and had great success in the NFL. He was at Pittsburgh at the time. He was the defensive coordinator, but he was mostly interested in Bill Snyder. And part of that was that Bill Snyder came up with Hayden Fry from North Texas State at that time and went to Iowa. They had 19 consecutive losing seasons. And with Bill Snyder as the offensive coordinator, along with some other amazing assistants, they were able to turn around in year 3 and go to the Rose Bowl and then cap off one of the great decades, certainly in Iowa history, but one of the better ones in Big Ten history. And they played Kansas State twice in 87 and 88 and thoroughly thrashed them. So Steve Miller came to Iowa City late in the season and wanted to have a sit down. And Bill said, he was torn because he was really had in debt with Hayden Fry, really enjoyed working for him and very loyal, but he also wanted to hear him out. And if nothing else, pass on some information. Well, he became more and more intrigued by the situation, and he said it was more sight unseen. He went down for the press conference and then didn't really realize just how bad it was until he got there. But as we know, he had a plan, and he was one of the great offensive minds in college football history. I don't think gets enough credit for that.
Scott, I'm just glad that you wrote about Bill Snyder and kind of told the story, because I feel like he's already kind of getting lost. Like as time goes by, like various others, that's just the way the world works. But when I hear the Curt Cignetti to Bill Snyder comparison, I do kind of like a little bit, because I do feel like Bill Snyder was dealing with so much more adversity. So to have it explained, I think is great. And Curt Cignetti deserves a lot of credit as well. But do you kind of get that sense that Bill Snyder's kind of fading away in the memory of the college football fans these days?
I think so, because he didn't win a national championship. And a lot of times it's so zero sum when we try to discuss greatness. Like, I had that kind of shot at me. And it's like, well, he didn't win a natty. And I think that kind of defeats the purpose of what we're talking about, because they were they were just so bad. And there have been other programs that have had stretches. I mean, Baylor, when it first entered the Big 12, really struggled for a decade plus. But I think when you look at what he had to accomplish without a transfer portal, without NIL, he couldn't just start getting Iowa castoffs and other castoffs and kind of building his team the way he wanted it to. He had to start at ground zero and do it. I am not taking anything away from Curt Cignetti. He was one of the most amazing jobs we've ever seen. But he was able to bring, the guts of a roster from a very good James Madison team. He was able to, employ the NIL and the transfer portal and fill gaps, and then, did an amazing coaching job. But I think with Bill Snyder, because he had to start it so low, and even then there wasn't the scholarship limit. There wasn't the 85 scholarship limit. So players were going to Nebraska and Oklahoma just to sit on the bench rather than go to someplace like Kansas State. And so I think it's important that his story gets shared, because as we get more and more into the playoff system and more interest there, that I think these kinds of stories get lost to history, and they really shouldn't.
And he took over and was a part of that against the best run ever in Nebraska's football history, that 3 out of 4 and winning 60-3 record with Osborne. And then they broke through in 98, and the guy named Michael Bishop and others. And I mean, I remember they were really good, and it was like almost peaking to that, but it wasn't easy early for him.
No, it was tough. I mean, he started off 1-10, and then they got up to 5 wins, and then they broke through and got their first bowl win I think in year 4. And, but then he had to go concurrently, not only with kind of the afterglow, I guess, of Oklahoma, with Switzer leaving, but Tom Osborne, had Nebraska rolling. It was a machine in the mid-90s. Colorado won a national title early in his tenure. Oklahoma State was good, still kind of had some residue from some of its better teams. And so he was having to go against particularly Nebraska and Colorado that whole entire time. And then he broke through, as you said, in 98, where they were able to get past Nebraska. College Game Day was there. It was a top 10 matchup. And, they tore down the goalposts because they hadn't beat them in, 30 years. And then, of course, they had Bill's just so close to the vest on his emotions, but he kind of let it get out a little bit, just how much that loss to Texas A&M in the Big 12 championship in double overtime really hurt them because, and he's like, and particularly for us, for how far we came to get that close and not be able to get there. I mean, they would have went to the national title game, the BCS, it would have been them in Tennessee. And they had a really good chance of winning that game, and for them to let Texas A&M, I think, score 15 points in the fourth quarter to tie it and send it into, and then have a pass that ended up going against them in the second overtime. It really kind of wounded him, but he made up for that. And one thing I really want to mention about him was in 2003, I was in Missouri at the time. I was covering the Chiefs, and they were 9-3, and Oklahoma was 12-0, and that team was rolling. They beat A&M 77-0. They beat, I think, Texas 65-14. Number one, they had Jason White, the Heisman Trophy winning quarterback, and they were playing for the Big 12 title, and it looked like a complete mismatch. And one thing he said was that week that they made sure that they were so overwhelmingly positive, not only in what they did in practice, but in their words, to make sure to say, you could beat Oklahoma. This is the way you beat them. And kind of rigging the practices again to have some success. That since that game, I've never been shocked by a result. I refuse to be shocked because that one shocked me. When 9-3 Kansas State blows out number one Oklahoma, it was 12-0, that good, 35-7. So, and that was his true kind of full circle moment from the ash heap that was Kansas State football to the Big 12 championship in 2003.
As an Oklahoma fan, Scott, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't remember that. That didn't happen. No, I remember that all too well. Kind of like drawing the parallels between Cignetti and Snyder, and we've discussed some of those comparisons. I think the thing that is amazing about Cignetti is obviously Snyder had longevity and then left and then came back and wins another Big 12 title, which is incredible. But Cignetti now, I mean, it's year 3 at Indiana. They make the playoff the first year. Like, okay, is this really sustainable? They win the Natty the next year, and what looks like it's going to be almost impossible to be undefeated these days goes undefeated. And I mean, hell, there's people who are like, they're number one again this year for a lot of people, despite losing a Mendoza or whoever else off of last year's team. It's just, it's pretty remarkable, is it not, that not only is Indiana here and they've already taken the top prize, but now it's like, yeah, just pencil them in near the top of the AP top 25 and nobody's going to blink at that anymore.
Yeah, it does. It is a struggle when you've covered them so many times. And you usually with a team like that, and this is what they've been in the past, is, they've had some real good spikes on offense and maybe some pass rushers, but they've never been able to line up and go toe-to-toe with people along the line of scrimmage to go against an Ohio State or an Iowa or Wisconsin or teams like that in the past. Well, they were able to do that because they're so fundamentally sound. That is the difference, I think, between Indiana and any other kind of hot flash in this sport, because when you look at the way they competed, because their defensive line was pretty pedestrian. From an NFL standpoint, they didn't have when you lined them up against Ohio State and you saw, here's what 5 stars, here's what 4 stars look like, and then the other side, here's what group of 5 stars look like, and those types of players. However, fundamentally, they were so sound, and that's why I give them a chance every year. And then they bring back enough of the guts of that team. I mean, 3 of their starting offensive linemen, including the Big Ten's offensive lineman of the year, and Carter Smith. Charlie Becker had some incredible catches. And then to their credit, because they've had such success, they've been able to go to the transfer portal and get good players. I mean, Josh Hoover, I'm anxious to see how he does going from TCU to Indiana. Nick Marsh was one of the better wide receivers in the Big Ten. He was kind of wasting away at Michigan State. Now he comes to Indiana, and it was kind of funny. He wore, I think, gold colored cleats to practice, and right away, Cignetti got into him about it. Like, who do you think you are to wear those kind of cleats? And he's very gruff and upfront, but he's got a great style about him. And yeah, Indiana, to go from being the losingest program in college football history to the national championship in a 2-year period is something we will never see again. I mean, who's another program that could do something like that? A Rutgers, maybe? Maybe an Iowa State could have been that way before Matt Campbell, but the way Indiana did it is really remarkable.
Yeah, and it's like they have now exploded with the alumni. I didn't even realize that they had the largest living alumni in the country until that came out, and what they've done. With going back to Snyder one more time, not only did he have the great run that oh my God, so close to playing for the national title in 98. He then validated it again when he came back and did it again. How much did he just feel like he had to come save K-State in that time?
Yeah, it was a kind of a combination of two things there. I mean, one was Ron Prince, it didn't really work out, and he could see the program slipping, and he didn't want it to go back to where it was. I don't think it would ever go that far down again, but you know, and the other part is he is a lifelong coach, and that is his passion in life, and he was really missing it. He did kind of the book tour. He went to former schools. I remember seeing him at a big anniversary weekend in Iowa City. I think it was in the year he first retired in 2006. And I saw him when I worked in St. Joe, Missouri, because that's where he's from, that year as well. And, you know, but he really missed it. And so he came back and immediately brought him back to respectability. And then in 2012, I mean, they had a legitimate Big 12 championship. Not that the other one wasn't, but this was one where they won the season outright, and they didn't have the championship game, but, you know, he's able to do it and put it all together. And I think, when you look, the fact that he can come back in a different era and do it again and compete at a really high level for his program and similar to, you know, type success. I mean, it just shows that you don't need that hot young coach who's a vibrant guy. You just need somebody who's able to put people in the right position. And I think the most telling thing is, you know, he recruited Kevin Lockett to be one of his stars early in his career. And then his son, Tyler, who's still in the NFL, you know, came by and, you know, actually surpassed his dad's final statistics there at Kansas State. But in 2 generations of Lockett's, he was able to coach them in the same way and have them do the same things and get to the same location. And it's a testament that Bill Snyder knows what he's doing. And if you really listen to the message and listen to what he's trying to do, there are very, very few coaches as good as he is.
I saw a note one time from Mike Gundy that called Bill Snyder the greatest coach of all time because of what he did, and many others would also pass that along. I know you also cover quite a bit of the Big Ten, Iowa, et cetera. Man, they're in a really good spot, not just because of what Indiana did. That didn't hurt, but Michigan, despite some of the drama, Ohio State, et cetera. How good do they feel about themselves right now as kind of carrying the banner for being the best college football conference?
I think there's a lot of positivity, as you said. I went to the Big Ten spring meetings out in California and talking to a lot of the coaches, and they understand that they're in a really good spot as a league because, you know, they have the last 3 national championships. 6 out of their teams have competed. At least 6 different programs have reached the semifinals the last 3 years, going back to Washington playing Michigan for the national title in the last 4-team era. Then you have an Oregon who I think who'd be my number 1 right now. And part of it is you bring back Dante Moore, but you really bring back your entire defensive line and plus a really solid offensive line from last year. You know, and then, you know, Ohio State's not going to go far. They reload better than any other program in the country. And then, you know, Indiana is going to be right back in it. And then there's some other programs kind of lurking. You know, Iowa was 15 points away from, you know, being in the playoff, basically. You know, they lose by 5 points to Indiana, 2 to Oregon, both in the final minute of the game. And you know, Michigan now with Kyle Whittingham, the adults have entered the room, let's say, and if he can get Bryce Underwood figured out at quarterback, they can be right there competitive. And then you look at some other programs that, you know, have changed coaches. Michigan State, you know, can Pat Fitzgerald return them? I think Washington is going to be kind of like a dark horse. I think there's a lot of pressure on USC with Lincoln Riley because they've been decent, but that decent's not good enough for USC. So, and I really like what Bob Chesney's done thus far at UCLA. Has really been out recruiting well, changed the whole makeup of that program. I think I'm not projecting anywhere near what Indiana did under Cignetti, but I think they can have a really strong year with Bob Chesney coming from James Madison. So they feel really good about the way they are right now as a football conference, and they're having more success than they've ever had.
So, Scott, a ton of interesting storylines with just the ones you mentioned, the teams you rattled off there. I said earlier I'm an Oklahoma fan. Can you give the Nebraska fan to the left of me just a little bit of optimism, because you named like 10 teams and you didn't name Nebraska, and I think that's just a state of where things are right now. But how do you feel about them entering next season in all seriousness?
It's really hard to get a feel for Nebraska. As we know, every year Nebraska kind of, they get in the off season and it's like, all right, we're back, we're Nebraska, and I don't. If there's really a frustrating thing for me about Nebraska over the years, it's that they, whether it's the fan base, certainly the media, even the coaching staff at times, want to skip steps. And I don't think that they're in that position where they can skip steps. This isn't 1999 and they're reloading after not making the national title the year before. I mean, they're been brutalized by teams like Iowa and Minnesota. I mean, Minnesota's beat them 6 times. Iowa's beat them 10 out of the last 11. And the way that they've done it is through incredible development, fundamentals, line of scrimmage play, and Nebraska's it's not wearing off on Nebraska. They're thinking there's other ways to do it, and we're Nebraska. And I think they need to kind of humble themselves and put themselves in a position of, we need to build ourselves like those programs, not want to be those programs or aspire to be them, but how are they doing it to why that they're going to bowl games every year. In Iowa's case, it's one of 4 programs nationally to have 8 wins every single year since 2015. How do you do it? Well, it's line of scrimmage play, it's development. And Nebraska just seems to skip those steps. And every year or every couple of years they're reloading. Dylan Raiola is going to win a Heisman. Well, Dylan Raiola went to be a backup at Oregon, and now it's Anthony Calandria. Can he? Well, we're in a better position now than we were before. It's like, strip it all down, get that out of your mind, and then I think Nebraska might be on the right path. But until then, they win a couple big games. You're not back. It's going to take time.
They don't win big games. That's the other stat. One in God knows what, 25-something top 25 losses. They had the win against Colorado, a couple of years ago that seemed like a big deal at home. And then, of course, and some of the ways they've lost, instead of knowing you're going to win, which I'm sure Kansas State had to learn this, you're waiting for something to go wrong that you're not, like a block punt at the end of the half when you have a lead, or at the start of the half. And Iowa, you can just name them. It is awful where they are, and I have no faith, and I can usually tell, and until I actually see them and feel like, okay, they beat a pretty good team and look good doing it. I love them, but it's been bad. You're right.
Yeah, it's sad because I think college football needs a good Nebraska. I mean, I won't say the sport's better with them in that position, but they are a historic program. They were a historic blue blood for all of those years. And one thing that kind of stands out to me, and this was before last year's game, there was a mic moment on the Iowa sideline, and when one of their players in kind of a pregame speech says, "There's 2 things in this world, 2 things certain in this world: Iowa fears God and Nebraska fears Iowa." And then Iowa went out and blew them out, 40-16. And it's just that they were tougher, they're more physical. And that used to be the hallmark of Nebraska, especially when Tom Osborne was there, is their line of scrimmage was, you could not beat them along the line of scrimmage. They were more physical, they were tougher, they're mentally tougher, and then they had great skill position players. And as long as, if they can find a way to be, as good and as competitive along the line of scrimmage as an Iowa, or get into the Michigan or Ohio State territory, they can do whatever they want on an offense, and they'll probably be fine. But until then, it's this cycling through every couple of years, a new different coach, a new different defensive coordinator. Oh, well, we weren't tough here, where we need, and you look at how they finished the season, getting blown out at Penn State, get blown out by Iowa, and then Utah, and it just shows you that they've got a long way to go, and it's going to take some time if they're willing to be patient.
I agree.
Scott, I know you got to run, but I do love what you said about Whittingham and just having a grown up in the room. It does feel like Michigan just absolutely hit a jackpot out of nowhere. Like, this, so fortunate that worked out the way that it did with Utah, and just wanting to move on from Scally. And I wonder what the alternative would have been, but we don't have to know, because they got themselves a great coach. And I'm just fascinated to see a guy like Morgan Scally with those resources for a couple years, and just what all that entails. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
I agree. I think you look at both programs. Utah to me was, it sounds like there was kind of and I'm from afar, so I'm not up close on Utah, but it sounds like that they were kind of they wanted to kind of move on. And Scally has this, real boisterous personality that I think is shown in talking to some of the players at the NFL Combine, some former Utah players, that they're saying, we think that it'll be more of a togetherness that maybe wasn't quite there all the time with Kyle. And they were, of course, quick to praise him, but they said that was part of it. And then the other thing was with Michigan, the Harbaugh era was just filled with drama each and every week. I mean, people forget in their championship season, he was suspended the last 3 regular season games, including against Penn State and Ohio State. And there was constant violations, coaches doing this wrong and that wrong, and spying and all this. And then Sharon Moore, I mean, that was more heinous on a personal level than even what went on with Harbaugh. So I think getting a respected coach like Kyle Whittingham, who everybody respects, and then also, Hall of Fame caliber person and coach, I think that'll settle everything down. And, but Michigan does have a tough schedule, and it's got, he comes right out of the gate and has to play Iowa right off the bat. And I think that's a really big game for both programs as to, because if Michigan loses that game, I mean, their schedule is pretty tough. They could go 8-4 and be a really good team. And as we've seen in this 12-team playoff era, if you're in 9-3 territory, you're probably not getting in. So, and at Michigan, that would be like, oh, what a terrible season if they finish 9-3, even though he might have done a really good job.
Thank you. Great stuff. At Kansas State, Bill Snyder was the Kirk Cignetti of the 1990s. His Manhattan Miracle endures. I once interviewed him, talk radio, a long time ago, and got a handwritten thank you note from him. For asking me to come, asking him to be a part of the show. That's the kind of guy that Bill Snyder, you can imagine what he did with student athletes, and those are prospects and parents too. Thank you, Scott. Great stuff. See you soon.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate you.
Scott Dockerman, theathletic.com. Here's one other note on the story. Only a magician could save Kansas State football in the late 1980s. Instead, they got a miracle worker, and they slowly got bigger. They went, and speaking of the next segment, special teams at K-State was as good as Frank Beamer at Virginia Tech, among others. They did all of it well. Kicking, punting, efficiency, all of that. They perfected it and started to win a couple of games that otherwise, with who they were at the time, they probably would not have won.
Yeah, I'm not so much of a guy who's able to look at certain statistics and numbers and really tell the tale of what those mean outside of, like, obviously somebody's at number 1, somebody's at number 13, whatever. And depending on the category, like, and the topic, you can break some things down, but like special teams, I mean, we'll see. This might just be word salad to me, what you bring up here in a few minutes, as far as those rankings go, but did not need to know how to read numbers to just see how much that mattered to K-State and how much that matters to a lot of great teams, and how much that is like the swing factor. Virginia Tech, obviously Beamer ball was a huge emphasis on special teams, and the Hokies and the Wildcats won a lot of games because of things like that. I mean, I actually just stumbled across, speaking of Kansas State special teams, I randomly, totally random, came across Darren Sproles highlight video from somewhere, and just sat there. That was a good 5 minutes. I just burned right away watching him return just score after score and just play
what was
after
that,
play.
38-9 or something like that?
Yeah, I don't know. It was just some old highlight tape that somebody had slapped together at some point, and I just was just like, wow, man, he was so awesome. It was just a good little trip down memory lane. But yeah, it was a great article, and drawing the parallels. I've seen a lot of that. Kirk Cignetti reminds me of Bill Snyder, or he's better than Bill Snyder, and I think that's one of those where there are some comparisons, as we pointed out. There's also some major differences, as we highlighted as well. And Scott's piece highlights, particularly the transfer portal, NIL, all that. And even Indiana at his lowest was not like on the verge of leaving the whole state of big time college football. Whereas Kansas State very much, like, had they just gone away, no one would have noticed at a certain point in time. Like, no, it would not have been a surprise, nor would anybody have blinked if they had just been gone from the Big Eight to go join like the Midwestern Valley Conference or something, because they were that downtrodden. So yeah, to see what Bill Snyder turned that into, it's a one of a kind thing that I don't think we'll ever see anything quite like that again. And I'm glad that somebody's still giving him his flowers and reminding people about him, because he's kind of at the point now where, yeah, like, I don't know how much a 20-year-old knows about Bill Snyder. So yeah, it's always good to look back at the people who kind of helped pave the way. And when you talk about college football history, I do think Bill Snyder's K-State build is one of the things that should be taught like in the course of college football 101. Like you touch on all the great coaches and you touch on like early Notre Dame and the Ivy Leagues and how it all started. And then you get into segregation and like all these big major things and stories and moments. And yeah, I think Bill Snyder, K-State, that's got to at least have part of a chapter in there somewhere.
I just from as long as I've loved or covered or watched college football, this is Bill Snyder at the top. I don't want to overlook Gary Barnett, what he did at Northwestern, which was phenomenal and took them eventually one of the teams that would, 0-11 or 1-11 or 2-10, took them to a Rose Bowl. Signetti, obviously, this is
Bobby Bowden with
Bowden at Florida State, where they were about to drop their program, and then they to get on the radar, they just started playing everywhere on the road. And then eventually started winning. They played OU and Notre Dame and Nebraska and whoever else, and that was amazing.
As a kid from the 80s, 90s, like I always thought Florida State was a big deal. It wasn't until I knew, started to learn a little bit of history and could understand that no, Florida State wasn't always like this. I just thought they were like Nebraska and they were like all these other teams. Like they were just always this way. And then oh no, this is like in the last 10 or 15 years, this has all happened. I was just too young to understand that.
Yeah. And then of course, they had the great run with against Miami, but what Bowden did was phenomenal. And Briles at Baylor with what they didn't go to a bowl game for 17 years or something. And then he turns them around pretty quickly. You get the once-in-a-lifetime type guy in RG3, then they start to win. And, of course, we know that ended with a big dark cloud. But what he did for about 6 years was also very impressive. But Bill Snyder at K-State is unmatched.
He's the face of it, yeah. But, I mean, but Bowden and taking FSU to the heights that he did, yeah, that was incredible as well. And I do think that while people can kind of, when they hear the name Briles and obviously the way his tenure ended, but to your point, though, that's absolutely true, though. Like the turnaround job, that's not even debatable. Like Baylor growing up in Texas was the biggest laughingstock, and it wasn't even close. I mean, they were the butt of every joke. They were the worst team. There wasn't a close second. There was no appeal unless you were just Southern Baptist and you came from a family of Baylor alums. But beyond that, there was no pull except for your random athlete that just, hey, Grant Taft convinced me to come play here. But, yeah, I mean, he obviously established some level of history. But by the time that Briles took over, I mean, yeah, they had regularly been the worst team in America for a good stretch of time. And, yeah, then obviously he turned that around. So, yeah, there's a few examples you can use in that chapter of the greatest coaching jobs ever if we ever write the college football encyclopedia. But, yeah, the picture at the front of it will be Bill Snyder and Kansas State.
96 to 2009, Baylor had a losing season every year.
Oh, they were awful. I mean, I can't even I kind of explain it, but they were – without a doubt, as somebody who grew up talking college football, my buddies, even like middle school, elementary school, it's like Baylor, you just laugh. Like, they suck. And then if your buddy had a dad who went there, it was like, didn't even want to really be proud of it because they were so embarrassing. So yeah, that's undeniable. And anybody who was following along then knows that, yeah, they were clearly the one, however many teams there were in Division I, whatever the last number was, that was Baylor, pretty much every year for a decade. Yep. So yeah, there's some good discussions just kind of look back on when it comes to the topic of rebuilds.
And they would host games with Oklahoma, Texas, Nebraska, whoever, and it would be maybe 5,000 Baylor fans in a stadium that had about 50,000, and most of the other ones were wearing a different color.
Yeah, I mean,
it was bad. Yeah,
they're definitely one of the worst teams of all time that I've ever, or worst stretches of time. But K-State obviously was involved in that as well, and various other examples you could use. But I think Scott even points out in the article somewhere about like the ticket arrangement they had with Oklahoma, K-State did to I forget the anecdote exactly, but just it made me think of that when he talked about having more opposing fans at your stadium than your own fans. And yeah, the K-State was dealing with something similar to that. So good story by Scott. Good to kind of walk down memory lane a little bit as well.
Mac Brown used to say they loved playing in Waco because some fans that normally couldn't watch them in Austin could watch them when they played at Baylor. When we come back, a special team, speaking of Bill Snyder and Frank Beamer and others, who were the top special teams efficiency in 2025, and did they win? How much did they win? That is next. This is 365 Sports. QC Kinetics. Boy, it's made me feel so good, feel great. Now, how much and how often do you get up every day and you face the same pain, maybe in your knees, your hip, your joints, your neck, your wrist, and maybe even your shoulders? I did that for a long time with my right hip. Bothered me to death. Kept being told that it was my back that was kind of scratchy and had all sorts of stuff that led to that, which is in a lot of ways true. MRI showed a bunch of stuff in my back, but I kept getting frustrated because it was my hip that hurt. It was hard to explain. Took steroid injections straight into my hip, had injections into my back. It just didn't work. If it did, didn't work very long. So I went and visited QC Kinetics in Dallas, sat down with them, free consultation, and they told me what they do. And I was like, man, I'm at that point because I don't want to ever have any kind of surgery or procedures on my back. Not going to do that. And it was my hip, again, I need to explain, that hurts so much. So I went and had my first treatment in September. They spun my blood. They drew blood from my left arm, spun it 15, 30 minutes later. They came back, injected it in my lower waistline and around my right hip. The next time, about a month or 4 or 5 weeks later, did it again. Third time, they went inside of my back of my hip bone and they pulled out stem cells, bone marrow, spun it, put it back in my hip again. And I'm like, oh, whoa, I feel a lot better. I felt better, but I felt a lot better. And then there's like about a month or so later, you do it again with your blood. I ran 3 miles this morning. I now run about 12 to 14 miles a week without overloading it. I've gone 1, 2, 3, or 4 miles. I tell you this because I couldn't even walk sometimes very well without almost like a limp because it hurts so much in my hip. It works. Natural biologics from inside of your own body to help your own body. How simple and makes sense. Does that make sense? It happens. Here are 2 numbers. I could go on and on about them. And I know some of you are like, in fact, some of you have contacted me about this. And I've heard from people around the country that have heard the commercials with me and what I say about QC Kinetics, like they're hearing it too. Dallas, 972-972-8610. Houston, 713-913-5285. QC Kinetics takes your natural biologics, your natural fluids, to put them back in your body to help your body because you know what? You're tired of feeling miserable. You don't want to have surgery. QC Kinetics, let me explain this one more time. Free consultation, locations in Dallas and Houston. QC Kinetics. Get better for good at QCkinetics.com.
It's in the major leagues for 24 years. And let me tell you, I can feel it in my joints. Shoulders, elbows, and knees. Trust me, pain doesn't retire when you do. I tried everything to get rid of the pain. Nothing worked until QC Kinetics.
Baseball legend Roger Clemens and other patients are getting lasting relief with QC Kinetics regenerative treatments. No surgery.
I trust QC Kinetics. You should too. Let's commit to getting rid of all the pain.
Schedule your free consultation today. QC Kinetics. Better starts here.
With over 25 years of excellence in IT, Carrion Solutions is your trusted technology partner. From managed IT services to cutting-edge cybersecurity, our expert team delivers tailored solutions that drive success. Our portfolio includes products such as Veeam, Bitdefender, Microsoft, Cisco, and Fortinet. Call David Carrion and his team of experts. Call 888-522-2221 or visit us at carrionsolutions.com.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at alliancebanktexas.com. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
Hello, I'm Camille Johnson with Camille Johnson Realtors. We specialize in selling residential real estate agent all across our community, and we love serving all types of families. We have been in business at Camille Johnson Realtors for almost 9 years, and I have been a residential real estate agent for almost 40 years. And we love our partnership with 365. So thank you for partnering with me, and thank you so much to all of my clients who have made our company a success.
Celebrate American value and American quality during the Red, White, and Blue sales event at Richard Car. You want a Richard Car GMC? Get your Sierra now and save $13,000 or more on every truck in stock with trade-in. Save $14,000 on a 2026 GMC Sierra SLE Crew Cab. Or save $13,500 on a 2026 GMC Sierra Pro, now under $29,000. Drive American quality and get American savings during the Red, White, and Blue sales event at Richard Car.
Richard Car, they have the truck for you.
Pepperoni Magnifico. Pepperoni Magnifico. Marco's Pepperoni Magnifico. Classic and crispy cut pepperoni, 3 melty cheeses, all on our fresh made dough. And starting at just $12.99 for a large, it's no wonder Marco's was named America's favorite pizza chain.
This 4 o'clock hour is brought to you by Stonewood Dental, your one-stop shop for your dental needs, specializing in teeth cleaning, fillings, crowns, sealants, root canals, IV sedation, extractions, implants, bridges, dentures, full mouth restorations, and bioaesthetic dentistry. Our priority is your comfort from the moment you walk through the front door. Stonewood Dental in Robinson, Texas. It's time for the Smoke Show on 365 Sports with Craig Smoke and David Smoke.
Craig's off the radar around the corner, and we will try to get to the special teams numbers and look back at who had the best efficient special teams and did they win. But, Craig, you got an update on yet another update on the story involving Brendan Sorsby.
Yeah, and I think this is, at least for a few moments, worth pushing off the special teams thing because, yeah, this is a notable update, although nothing changes big picture-wise. But this story's kind of died down. There's been ebbs and flows to it. Obviously, it was the biggest story in America sports coverage there from a non-pro standpoint, even probably the biggest amongst, for a couple days there, the biggest story, period,
yeah, it was,
in college or in sports. But, so... looking at this here from Adam Schefter, he's got a statement from Brendan Sorsby, but the big part of it is that there was a memo sent today to all NFL teams to let them know officially that Brendan Sorsby has decided not to pursue litigation and will prepare for the 2027 NFL draft. The NFL, according to Schefter, will not discipline him for currently known prior misconduct, but it retains the right to investigate Sorsby's conduct beyond what is in the current public filings. The NFL also reserves the right to take college misconduct into consideration in setting any future violation discipline. So he will be considered a draft-eligible player for the 2027 draft, will not be eligible to sign a player contract until the completion of the 2027 NFL draft. So, yeah, Sorsby's just going to get ready for the draft, and there was actually a statement that he released as well. He said, there's been a lot of news about me out there, and I want to share this statement to make sure things are clear. I accept 100% responsibility for my actions. I did not have control of my gambling problem, and it took getting caught for me to realize that, but it was truly the best thing that could have happened to me. Because of this, I have been able to get the help I need and fully focus on my recovery. And then he goes on to say, the news about the supplemental draft changes nothing about my recovery journey. I will continue to take it one day at a time, focusing on making myself better throughout this process and making sure to share what I have learned and will continue to learn with others going forward. I am fully committed to being the best version of myself that I can be while getting ready for the 2027 draft. God makes no mistakes, and I look forward to seeing the good that is to come from this. So there was Brendan Sorsby's statement, and he will now just bear down and get ready for the 2027 NFL draft, and he is accepting responsibility in this statement, and I think that probably was said to some degree a few weeks ago, but just wasn't as loud and clear maybe as it is now. So maybe this will resonate a bit more for him and the public out there.
So let's put bullet points on this. One, the NFL sent out letters to all 32 teams that Sorsby was not going to fight the NFL any longer. The NFL Players Association also made the comment that they weren't going to fight the NFL on Sorsby not being able to be a part of the supplemental draft. And then this comment from Sorsby: I did not have control of my gambling problem, and it took me getting caught for me to realize that.
That's what everybody said. Yeah.
It was truly the best thing that could have happened to me. Because of this, I've been able to get the help I need. Now, there's going to be a lot in recovery. A lot of people are going to call bull. He admitted it. I think he'd already admitted it, but in this particular case, I did this because I got caught. I got sideways because I got caught, and not getting caught. Who knows where the stories could be in the future, like in the middle of the year, all of a sudden something pops, or even right before the season begins.
Well, yeah, if he never got caught, he would just have kept doing it. And yeah, at some point that would have been found out. And maybe it would have been after he had won a national title at Texas Tech. And then what happens if that were the case? So I think you're better served by having that happen the way that it did. Now, you may disagree on whether or not he should have still been able to play. I think it's like 90-10 at most or 90-10 probably on average that people feel a certain type of way about this story. But yeah, I mean, I've been sympathetic to the person the entire time, and I'm glad that the person is finally addressing the personal issues and not so much like, I just want to play football, because that's how it came across. And that's what everybody took it as. And I said from the very beginning, like I'm sympathetic to all this, but I know that that's not how a lot of other people thought about this. And yeah, while I did say that, I was also still fully of the belief that I want you to get better, but I definitely think that you're not really addressing this, and I think that you just want to play football ultimately. So I'm not really buying it, and that's why I kept hammering home that, like, if you do have a problem, and it appears that you do, and it became very clear that he did, that then please do, like, legitimately use this time to get better, because you're never going to have a better time than right now to do it, as much as this doesn't seem like a good time. So this is a step in that direction, and I'm sure there's been other steps we're just not privy to. But yeah, that's the statement from Brendan Sorsby.
Tom Pelissero does a great job covering the NFL, and he basically, about the NFL, NFLPA, and Sorsby, they reached a settlement. Kessler has released a note that no, Brendan's not going to pursue NFL, not anymore, and not until he gets himself settled, and waits until 2027. That's the next time he's available at the draft in April of next year. And no additional discipline for any prior conduct. However, if there is future conduct that gets in this lane of gambling, then that can all be brought up again. But nothing that he did prior to now, all of that, he's not going to be able to be drafted. No supplemental draft. Can't play till he's drafted next year. But whatever he did will not be a part of any discipline once he is back and once he does join the NFL.
Yes, with an asterisk, unless he screws up again.
That's what I said. If he ends up getting in trouble, let's say it's November or next June, and then he's totally that other
screwed.
Stuff can come. Yeah, they can.
He's
all
probably
bring that
banned
back.
for life from the NFL if he ever gambles again.
I would agree with that.
I think
too.
he's banned for life, so he has no room for error, because it's like you're on your file's clean so long as you don't get in trouble again in the next 2 years. You're on this probationary period. That's basically what it is, except for his probation lasts the rest of his career. So yeah, the gambling doesn't matter now to the NFL until you make it matter to them again, because you dabble back into it. So that's why it's important that he gets right, because the next mistake is, that's it, dude. We're not going to be talking about you playing football anymore, because even if you were to try to play football somewhere, we're not talking about you in the UFL. Let's just face it. We're not going to care at large about that, and that story will die off. But as an NFL prospect, I think he'll fade away for a while, and then when we start to have those conversations about what that looks like, we'll revisit it, and it'll be really interesting to see what teams have to say about it and where he falls with no senior season, in line with the other quarterbacks who are all playing for the next few months, and the Trinidad Chamblises and whoever else may end up declaring early, the Arch Mannings that he might be competing with, Dante Moore, so on and so forth. I did want to add, too, from Pelissero, under the settlement between the NFL, NFLPA, and Brendan Sorsby, sources say he will be allowed to participate in the pre-draft process for all non-league events, including the Senior Bowl, Pro Day, and team visits leading up to the 2027 NFL draft. So he he's got that going for him, and that's sure as hell a lot better than the alternative. So yeah, he'll just not play this year. We'll see on the Senior Bowl. I would think they do invite him because they want probably to have the best players, and I think they'll have a pretty good selection of quarterbacks probably. On paper, at least right now, it appears like they probably would. But yeah, he'll be able to be in the Senior Bowl if they want him to, and then I'd imagine he'll have his pro day at Texas Tech, and that'll be the most we've ever seen of him, unless you attended spring practices these past few months. Beyond that, that will be your long look at Brendan Sorsby in Tech gear playing football. Will be sometime next March or April in front of scouts out in their big, beautiful facility in Lubbock. But yeah, there you go. So settlement, no more further legal action by Sorsby, and he's just going to sit back and get ready for the 2027 NFL draft. So yeah, there's the latest.
And in the chat room, let's move on from this Brendan Sorsby story from Alex. And I was going to respond to you. I'll just say it on the air. I'm sorry. I think a lot of people have been tired of it, as it just seemed like it was never going to end. There's an ending spot here. There's the next chapter now in the book of Brendan Sorsby. This is what he had to do. I mean, he's never going to get in the NFL had he not eventually, whether you believe his statement, whoever wrote the statement, did Brendan write it? This was the next chapter for him to have any kind of chance to get himself into the NFL. And now it's the end of the story until, of course, what happens next spring with the draft.
Well, first of all, if anybody's out there going like, I don't know if he really wrote that, I just think like, who cares who wrote the damn statement? I have a hard time believing anybody would care to that degree about a statement. So yeah, I think hopefully that's just your imagination and just speaking in general, then somebody out there actually would care to that level, especially for a statement that's not like, I did not do this and I didn't know. It's like he's fully admitting it and just saying, here's what my plans are. And Alex, or whoever else feels that way, I mean, certainly understandable, but not going to cover a story like this and not cover the rest of the book. So yeah, this is the next big announcement from this. We now know what his draft future looks like and what his next year will look like. And then we probably won't talk about him much at all because there'll be no reason to outside of something along these lines. And yeah, for the most part during college football season, we'll probably bring him up depending on what Tech's quarterback play looks like and how good or bad Will Hammond performs. There'll always be kind of that, well, what would this have looked like if things had held? There will be those conversations. But yeah, I mean, this is pretty much putting the button on it until next March and April, until February or so, I would say, of next year. This is kind of wrapping that up for the foreseeable future.
All right. Yep. I don't know what the timeline is for when they start to do the combine and all of that other stuff, but right now that's irrelevant, as Brendan Sorsby will try to continue to work on himself. So there we are. Breaking news on the Brendan Sorsby story. Dropping the suit, settlement with the NFL and also the NFLPA. And now the next move is whoever gets him, when that happens, if he does stay clean between now and next spring.
And I am fascinated by next year's quarterbacks. I mean, he will definitely be part of that group. He was going to be regardless of whatever happened here. But I did a video a while back on just the number of guys that could be in next year's draft. And look, most of them could just decide to stay in school again. I mean, CJ Carr and Arch Manning and a lot of other guys can just sit back and come back to college football after this 26 season. But some of them will likely go out a year early, and then there will be the senior quarterbacks like a Sorsby, a part of that group, Trinidad Chambliss, among others as well. So yeah, I'll be curious to see when we get further down the road of where he kind of falls in line, especially having not played a full year. And then is there any radioactivity? But you would think that would be all stamped out by what the NFL said today. So yeah, we move forward. Everybody moves forward.
And I'm glad that somebody said he should have done this back from the beginning. How much of time, energy, drama, anger, angst, and all that, emotions would that have saved?
That's fair too. I mean, that's absolutely fair to wonder.
That was from Paxton.
Yeah, that's absolutely fair to wonder. I think just the environment changed, right? I mean, at least early on, you kind of had, oh no, that's not quite what it appears to be, and then like you keep peeling layers, and you're like, no, it actually looks worse than it started off. Yeah, well, and then we kind of didn't hear, but I think to Paxton's point, yeah, the ownership piece of it, of saying like, yeah, I screwed up and I had a problem. I think he kind of said that, but I don't think he said it as well as he said this example, like where he really kind of cleared the air.
That a lot of people were talking about is that all of this is because then that's the way it is with anything. When you do something you shouldn't be doing, whether it's criminal, gambling, whatever else, personal, you got to get caught. A lot of times, addicts, etc. You almost have to be caught. You don't sometimes just walk away. Some that are very, very resilient and strong persevere through that and just walk away. And I know some, and that's amazing. But in this case, yeah, this was because he got caught.
Yeah, no, and that's how most people felt from the beginning, and it kind of was tried to be played a little bit differently, maybe early on, and I think that was for the purpose of trying to ultimately get your end goal and get some sympathy and all of that. But I think most people could spot that and could say like, yeah, dude, this is only because you got caught, but it doesn't matter. It's all turned into this. And I will I will finish my thoughts on this where I started when this story first broke of good luck to you, man. I hope you really are taking full advantage of the tools at your disposal. And I hope you are kissing the ground, thankful for Texas Tech support and whoever else has supported you along the way. But yeah, get yourself right, man, because if we talk about this again, like that's the end of the road. You're going to be in like that Pete Rose chapter of that book where you're the face for all the wrong reasons, or you can be a face that you could make a whole career of being a spokesperson for young people and gambling issues.
He's always going to be a part of what he did wrong, but there is a chance he could come back and be one hell of a story.
It's like Ryan Leaf talking about his sobriety and helping people to recover.
Waking
Same
up on
thing.
the floor in a jail cell.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for the update, Craig. Appreciate it. Also the feedback in the chat room as well. All right, real quickly, I want to get through this because otherwise this will be something we don't do at all. It doesn't take long for this particular part of what I was going to discuss with college football special teams. Connor O'Gara, who will join us, I think it's tomorrow. I don't know who needs to hear this on the last Saturday of June, but there's not a more underrated asset to a football staff than having a special teams coach that actually knows what they're doing. So he will join us tomorrow, many things college football. So I went and looked up the top 10, and I wanted to see if they won. And I know, Craig, what you said before on some of the other stats we show, there isn't always equal wins, but not all these equal having 9, 10, 15 wins either. Number one, based on the FBS FEI ratings, this takes every special teams category from plus and minus on returns, block kicks, field goals, efficiency, punt, all of that. Iowa, not a surprise, number one. They won. Penn State had a terrible year because of the coaching change. They did not win, but they're number two. Nebraska was, right there in the middle of the pond with no floaties at number three because they have been the worst at times. And then look who's four, Indiana. Look who's five. They went deep in Ole Miss. Georgia, Texas Tech. So 4, 5, 6, and 7 were all really good last year. Iowa was pretty good. And then you have Louisville. There's another playoff team and another one with Oregon and Oklahoma.
Yeah, I mean, there's just a mixture of conferences and success here. So I think that's what makes it sort of difficult to really break down in any other way than Nebraska's year was very average, but special teams, they were really strong. So there's something. There's an anchor for you to build around. If they aren't
that efficient, they probably aren't bowl eligible. Another loss or two on the record.
I mean, and obviously Iowa's special team style plays well into their overall style, and they've just developed a style that is sometimes is unwatchable, but is so unwatchable that it's must-see TV in a weird way.
Like a car wreck.
But they are tremendous at special teams, and that's a big part of their formula to just being consistently really solid every year. Don't know that I would have guessed Penn State necessarily, just because they were such a forgettable team in so many ways last year for for the most part, the entire conversation just sort of centered around the head coach, the hot seat, and eventually his firing. Although there were obviously some expectations at the beginning of the year, but yeah, the top 4 teams are all from the Big Ten. I don't know if that means anything or not, but in the case of 1 and 4, it resulted in wins. In the case of 2 and 3, not as much. So I do think special teams is really important. I think if you've got great special teams, it's what can take you from good to great. I don't know that you can be a bad team and turn into a good team just purely on special teams, but it's like that wild card that can really, it does take you up another notch, and that, or like either a half or like a full notch. Because if you've got really good defense and offense, and then you have that third piece, then yeah, you are a really, really good team.
I think special teams takes an average team and makes them maybe a 7, 8, 9 win team. I think special teams takes a pretty darn good team and could put them in the position to play and win conference championships and more.
Like Indiana?
Like Indiana. Absolutely. And this is one of those things, if you were to go back over the last 10 years, which I don't have, I couldn't find that. I bet Iowa's a part of it almost every year. And I bet
they're number 1 pretty much every year.
Yeah. Field goal kicking, punting, punt return. But there we are. A lot of those teams won. The only ones that were not bowl eligible, Penn State. That's it. They're the only ones. Yeah, they're the only ones. Playoff teams in that list, like you said, Craig, 4, 5, 6. No, Georgia didn't. Yeah, they did. 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, and 10.
It was trying to think back here now. Georgia didn't. They got a first round bye. Of course, they were the 3 seed. A lot of
4 through 10, all of them were in the playoff.
Not Louisville.
Oh, that's right. I forget Louisville.
No, not Louisville. No, Louisville was not in the playoff, but the rest of them were. And I mean, look, if you got good special teams, it doesn't mean that you're good. But if you got good parts around that, and you also have good special teams, then half the list is made up of playoff teams here. Yeah.
Who was the punt returner for Texas that took it back to tie the game against Mississippi State? Was it Niblett?
Yeah, Ryan Niblett.
I mean, he was phenomenal. And UT's got the players to be kicking punt returners, but phenomenal. Not some of the other stuff was hit and miss.
I will say one of my big bugaboos. Yeah, Ryan Niblett was really explosive.
Win the Mississippi State game if he's not back there fielding. And why did you punt to him in the first place? That was a great comeback for Texas.
I think one of my bigger frustrations is seeing teams that don't care about it, that they just give it lip service.
I've seen them.
And there was one that we covered for a while that they scored so many points, they really didn't have to care about it. But I'm still not convinced that if they didn't care a little bit more about it, it doesn't make them like an even better team. But they just felt like we'll score 50 a game and we'll play some defense, and that's all we got to do. We don't have to worry about it, even though the biggest win ever was based on a field goal kick against TCU, talking about those Baylor teams that we're referring to, like, the K-State rebuild and the various teams, FSU. But, that Baylor run when they were the talk of the town before scandal hit, they didn't really care about special teams. They really didn't. They had great athletes to return kicks and punts, but it wasn't like a focal point because the offense was so damn good.
It was almost like punting was boring if you even did, and you didn't have to work on it because you rarely had to
But
punt.
I'll always wonder, like, if they had been elite in special teams, but they didn't want to kick field goals, right? Like, you're like, no, we're going to go for it on 4th and 6 at the 30-yard line. Like, we're not going to kick a damn field goal. I wonder, like, if they had elite special teams, how many more wins, or do they have fewer wins?
They beat Michigan State in the Cotton Bowl.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah,
they
that would have
beat
been a big
Michigan
deal.
State in the Cotton Bowl.
But that's just one example
They did beat TCU because of a last-second kick, which was the most famous one that was a short one.
And maybe I'm shortchanging the actual care factor. It's just that it was not discussed very much, or didn't sound like many people cared as much as I felt like you probably needed to. But that's just one example I have of where some teams just don't prioritize it the same way. And obviously there's others that prioritize it a great deal. And obviously it plays a massive role in Iowa's success in particular. But the national champs and a whole bunch of playoff teams are on this list. So that ought to tell you that it's pretty important.
All right. When we come back, Craig SMOAK and Off the radar, around the corner, John McClain at 5, or a little after 5, the Hall of Fame columnist. Michelangelo Flores is running the mothership. Garrett Ross and Andrew Valade today, along with David Smoke and Craig Smoke, the Smoke Show on 365 Sports. It's time to compete against yourself, finding too many excuses not to work out combined with bad eating habits, and Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness can help reach inside your competitive soul. Discipline, getting results you've only dreamed about, personal training, group exercise classes, and even a tanning bed, world-class tennis facility, and pickleball courts and lessons available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, spacious, clean workout rooms, free weights, state-of-the-art technology, weight training equipment, and no intimidation. It's time for you to react today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
For anyone that's in the car buying mode or looking for a car right now or a truck, I would definitely come by Allen Samuels, get to know the people here like I have, how well I'm taking care of the dealership and how well, service and any kind of warranty issues or those sort of things. Because the way they take care of me, it's made me a Ram driver. I said I don't think they'd want to go anywhere else if they came here.
Like Allen Samuels always said, Waco has a lot to offer, and so do we at Allen Samuels Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. Come by, let's be friends.
Automatic Chef is your local vending, office coffee, and micro market provider, delivering outstanding service to break rooms all over Central Texas for over 50 years. Automatic Chef brings the best products to your location at the best prices. With hundreds of choices in fresh food, coffee, snacks, and drinks, make break time great again with Automatic Chef. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchef.com.
It's time for Craig Smoke's Off the Radar.
Off the radar here on 365 Sports. A little off the beaten path discussion about some other things going on outside of college football and the world of college athletics, although I still dabble sometimes in this segment, but I don't think so much today as there's enough going on that is of interest elsewhere and kind of quiet, actually, outside of that Sorsby statement that we just got. But looking forward to Big 12 Media Days next week. We will be there a week from today in Frisco, Texas, to cover the event for a couple of days and have a lot of interviews set up already. And looking forward to it. But elsewhere, what is going on? Well, it's a busy time right now in the NBA. I don't know how much you've paid attention to this. I doubt very much at all because you've got things to do. And also, I know you're not the biggest NBA fan necessarily these days. I mean, the Spurs were in the finals and you were like, yeah, they're my favorite team, but I don't really care.
I was a terrible Spurs fan.
You really were. Honestly, you really were.
Not the same as when they had George Gervin and they got so close, lost to the Bullets. Not the same with Duncan Robinson and all of that, even through Kawhi. But yeah, I just did not get invested in them. And then about the time I did, they blew a lead or whatever it was. And eventually, well, they did. It was like in game 3 or 4, they blew it.
We need to specify. They did it multiple times.
Yeah, no, and so okay, what did they do?
Well, they didn't do anything. I was just commenting on your NBA interest or lack thereof. And yeah, I mean, I disavowed my team. So if they're in the finals, I can say I don't care because I disavowed them. You never disavowed the Spurs. That bothered me how much you didn't seem to care that they were playing in the freaking NBA Finals. But the point being, you don't care as much, and that's fine. But there is a lot of news out of the NBA that I want to touch on, and there's some other things to get to as well. But the big note is that LeBron James is coming back for a 24th season in the NBA, and the team is to be determined, but it will not be the Los Angeles Lakers, as LeBron James has informed LA that they can move on and plan to make plans without him, as he will be playing elsewhere, according to his lifelong pal and Clutch Sports CEO, Rich Paul. Let's see. He said, or Lakers governor Jeannie Buss said, that LeBron's one of the greatest athletes in history. They'll always be thankful for his 8 years with the Lakers. That seems like way longer than I would have guessed. Like, I know he was there a while, but 8 years. I didn't realize it was almost a decade.
When did he get there? Because I know they won the year of COVID. I guess a year or two before that, if it's been 8 years. I didn't know he was there that long either.
Yeah, I just wouldn't have guessed. Like, if you give me a multiple choice question, no, he'd been there since 2018. So a lot longer than I would have guessed, but COVID kind of messed with all of our brains. But he posted to X, truly an honor to wear the Lakers uniform, and also said, I hope I made a few proud during my stint. So James, as according to ESPN, told his agent to talk to everyone in the league to see who's interested and then come back to him with the best options so he can make a decision. He is committed to playing year 24. And no word yet on whether that will be the final year. And this is why I can, like, if I was, like, I find it interesting that he's coming back because he's arguably the greatest player ever. Like, I don't believe that, but he's like 1B. He's 2 or 3. He's not far down the list at all. If you're old school, you can cite, like, well, I think George Gervin was better than him, or Oscar Robertson or whatever. But, like, the stats Oscar don't lie. Yeah, he's got multiple rings, holds all the records. Like, he's one of the greatest, if not the greatest. So from that standpoint, I find it interesting. I, however, not being a big LeBron fan, I am dying to know what it's like to watch the NBA without LeBron James involved almost at this point. And I know there are people
Is
up
it
to
like Brady when he eventually
probably,
retired?
yeah. But like, there's 23, 24-year-old people around the world that have never known the NBA without LeBron James being in it.
Yeah.
They're damn near at the halfway point of their 20s. They've never seen a single season without this guy being involved. The longevity is absolutely insane. So he is back for year 24. Sources told Sharanya Monday Golden State was one of the teams planning to pursue James once the negotiating window began on Tuesday at 5. So I guess that's actually about to open up here in about 10 minutes from now. So it gets into all the details of what that could look like and the Warriors contracts and everything else. But yeah, LeBron James coming back for year number 24. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I mean, here you have some guys who make the Hall of Fame are enshrined because they compile stats. Then you have some that are ones who win championships and are a part of like an enormous amount. And then you have some who did both. He's done both. I'm not a big LeBron fan. Haven't been. I did love it when he won it with the Cleveland Cavaliers. I thought that was really damn cool. All the other stuff with these super teams bouncing around, which I know became a thing with Miami, etc. I have nothing against him other than I don't like some of the things. He seems to not have to take too many questions about some of the dumb things he says about America. And then he kind of hides behind that. But that's just me politically. And I'm not saying that he's wrong. I'm just saying I disagree with him.
I think that sometimes he speaks out of turn, whether it's politics or just kind of like social, or just even big picture things. I think sometimes he gets maybe a little bit over his skis, or we rely on, because he's this big basketball star, like his opinion carries so much weight. And it's like, I don't think he's necessarily got the most fleshed out, well thought out opinion on some of these things necessarily.
And there's no accountability if he says something a little bit silly or dumb. And
I don't know about that. I think that like the Clay Travises of the world hold him accountable.
But I'm talking about within those who cover the NBA.
Well, because I don't think they
Like
care as much
Teflon.
Probably because for one, a lot of the people covering him probably agree with whatever he's saying. And also because maybe a lot of others just don't give a damn what he's saying and be like, the whole, and I'm not saying this, but there's the shut up and dribble crowd that don't care what he or any athlete has to. So there's a combination. I don't think he's some complex person. I think he's one of the greatest basketball players ever. And he's coming back for year number 24. And you hang around long enough and you do enough interviews, you're probably going to stick your foot in your mouth at some point in time. So it's amazing he actually hasn't done more of that, honestly. I dislike him for the way he disrespected Dirk. I don't give a damn what he thinks about politics. I don't give a damn what he thinks about favorite colors. I mean, I don't know. I sound like too dismissive of him. I first went off track with LeBron when he and D-Wade were making fun of Dirk. That's where he lost me. And he never got me back after that necessarily.
And he had that shoved right up as you know what.
Yeah, Dirk took care of that and handled that. And that was the period on the end of the sentence. And nothing more needs to be said because every time that gets brought up, I mean, Dirk finished it the most magical way you could possibly do that. But I am interested to see where LeBron goes. There is a chance he could be back where he's been before. Cleveland is apparently going to be in the mix. You can see where he'd want to close his career out there. Miami, where he had so much success. You can see where he would close out his career there with the second go-round. But there will be others interested and a lot of scenarios that are being floated around as the NBA gets ready for all this free agency madness and all these trades and things that are going on. That will be the hot topic. No word, I have not seen at least, on whether or not he will make the decision another feature special edition broadcast. That also is what rubbed me the wrong, not to the point where I changed fandoms or anything, but I just that was lame as hell. I hated that the decision thing was just, I was like, that's just kind of lame.
That was one of the biggest look at me moments of all time.
Yeah, certainly of his career and maybe, in general, that was definitely, but also, I don't know the details of it. I don't remember, and it doesn't really matter. But did ESPN give him money for that? I can't remember. I don't know. I mean, I could see where you want that spotlight. Who did the interview that with Jeremy? Well, not Jeremy. Who did that interview? That he, after that, really got scolded quite a bit. But it wasn't like a blemish on his career. As Jim Gray, by the way. I don't think, but it is something that's not a blemish on his overall career, but it is something that's kind of like a blemish on just the reasons why people don't like LeBron is the decision, disrespecting Dirk, never finishing reading books, and also just probably some of the stuff he said that's dealt with social justice issues or things along those lines. But he's going to be back, so if you don't like it, there's more. It's just a matter of where he will be playing. So there you have that. Meanwhile, Kawhi Leonard is on the move. He is heading back to Toronto. So might be multiple stars who go back where they've been before this offseason, but Kawhi Leonard's going to Toronto after they acquired him in a trade from the Clippers today. He obviously won a world title there back in 2009 and then 2019, excuse me, and then signed with the Clippers right after that, where things have not been as great. So we'll see on Kawhi Leonard, but he is also now on the move, and there's various others. There's a lot of NBA news that we're going to be getting over the next weeks, months, over the next few days and weeks, I should say it that way. So there you go. LeBron playing another year, and also Kawhi Leonard going back to the Toronto Raptors. Meanwhile, a story out of the NBA that's not just so a part of just the game itself was the story that came out yesterday involving a couple former players and some wagering issues. Federal prosecutors. I saw the video of Beasley. Yeah. Federal prosecutors charging former NBA players Malik Beasley and Ed Davis. When I saw Beasley too, I thought it was Michael Beasley of K-State at first. I was like, damn, man. But no, it's Malik Beasley, Ed Davis indicted on charges stemming from a government gambling investigation. This was all made clear thanks to an unsealed indictment. Federal prosecutors alleging Beasley, while playing for the Bucks, agreed with Davis in 2024 to manipulate his performance in several games so Davis and other co-conspirators could place fraudulent wagers on his performance. In return for fixing multiple games, Beasley accepted bribes, which were typically used to reduce or pay off debts that he owed Davis. Davis extended Beasley several loans after he racked up millions in gambling debt, despite earning tens of millions of dollars during his 9-year NBA career, according to prosecutors. So this goes back to the Sorsby thing, and just take away the name of it. But like, why does this matter? Who cares? Everybody gambles because of this. Because you're manipulating your performance. Well, what if it doesn't affect the outcome? Well, I don't think you have that much control that you're like, I'm going to try to not score as many points so that we win this gambling bet, and then I'm also going to guarantee that we still win or lose. There was a really flimsy argument with the Sorsby stuff about how it's not really that big of a deal, and I feel like that must have been coming from either just blindly loyal Tech fan or just like 22-year-old guy who's gambled his entire life. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Because it is a big deal. I even sort of understand the argument to a slight degree, but when it comes to manipulating your performance in a game, like, yeah, buddy, that's a no-go. That's not a, who, it didn't affect, no. That affects the entire fabric of everything that's going on in the game, because one player is intentionally not doing a job a specific way just to make money off the court. And in this case, where I think Sorsby is very fortunate is that he got caught before he got too deep, before he suddenly was paying back a former league pal for millions of dollars in debt, to the point where now he's got to be a part of a bribery scheme to then get the money just to pay the other guy off, even though you've made tens of millions of dollars. Like, my gosh, man, that's just how, that's such a slippery slope you fell down that it's hard to imagine.
You gotta you do something horrible and against the law, and you have to do something almost as bad to try to cover it up.
Actually worse, yeah, because I mean, I guess the gambling was bad because he should have been gambling on, but like, I don't know specifically what he gambled on that got him so in debt. Maybe I just missed that part of the article, but yeah, you had a vice that wiped out millions of dollars that you've made to play basketball because you couldn't not gamble, and it wiped so much money out that you had to turn to a buddy also in the NBA who put you in touch with the people or set it up to where you're now paying him off because he's loaning you millions of dollars, and you're manipulating your performance. And now you got federal prosecutors on your, like, just a fumbling of the bag, man.
The video that I saw of what he did at the end of a game to get 2 points to cover.
I didn't see that.
Like, you don't think like somebody go, holy crap. There's got to be a reason he was racing down the court to do that.
Yeah, I mean, there's just stuff that looks goofy that sometimes is just goofy. But yeah, I mean, now with this bit of light being shed, there is obviously a lot of probably tape people will have gone over to sit there and figure out what all is going on here. But yeah, so 6 people, including Beasley and Davis, charged in the indictment with wire fraud conspiracy, bribery in sporting contest, honest services wire fraud conspiracy, and money laundering conspiracy. And so Davis was arrested. At last look, I don't know if Beasley had been arrested or not, but the last note on this, federal prosecutors said the betting ring placed illegal bets totaling hundreds of thousands of dollars, including wagers amounting to $75,000 with winnings of at least $121,000. Davis has been out of the NBA since 2022, was among those placing bets on Beasley's individual performance, and he had apparently texted Beasley at one point back in 2023, "Only way you can beat Vegas is sports betting. We can make some good money." And so a month later is when their little scheme started. And 3 years later, here they are with the feds on their ass. And I'm sure we'll hear more about that. But yeah, Beasley alleged to have told other defendants to bet on him securing less than 3.5 rebounds during a Cavs-Bucks game. He got 1 rebound that night. February 27th, Bucks-Hornets in 2024. Beasley needed to score less than 12.5 and grab more than 3.5. He did both. He got 6 points, so the under, and then he got just over the 3.5 with 4 rebounds. And there's multiple other examples of this, but we don't have the time to go over it. So that's why it matters, right? Like the integrity and all, that's what people are referring to as much as anything else, and how this can get really sideways really quickly. And obviously it did for Malik Beasley in particular. So, man, he's going to need some help, and he will have plenty of time to get that help. Meanwhile, last thing, World Cup rolling on along. We're in the I don't know if you feel the raise up with the knockout rounds and kind of the sudden death feel of this, and some of the cool shootouts that we saw yesterday, the moments from those games yesterday, and just the high pressure of.
There were 3 games, and all 3 of them came down to like basically the last second.
And it was great. Like, yeah. And I think that's kind of what you were missing when we were just doing pool play and everybody's playing their handful of games or whatever, is now you've got, this very much of it's do or die time, it's crunch time. And so there's that element that you really felt, during yesterday's games. Well, right now you've got one game going on that is Sweden and France. France is up 1-0 at this point. That's over on Fox. It looks like they're about halfway through that one.
Hold on. Did Mbappe score?
I don't
know.
I don't know. I don't have the box score in front of me. But, France up 1-0 on Sweden. Earlier today, Norway took out the Ivory Coast 2-1. So the Norwegians move ahead. And then later on tonight, it'll be Mexico and Ecuador at 8 o'clock on Fox. That'll be pretty feisty, I would think, is going to be as a word that you could use for that one. So, Mexico and Ecuador, and that game is Estadio Azteca in Mexico City. So that will be a rabid, crazy-ass crowd, and I will be tuned in for at least a good portion of that later on tonight. So there you go. One game in the books. Norway wins, another game ongoing, France leading, and then a big one down in Mexico later on tonight.
Mbappe did score the lone goal.
I mean, if you had gun to my head said, do you think he scored this goal? I would have said, like, yeah, probably. And not surprised by that in the slightest.
All right. So we'll have John McClain. We're going to go. We have John in the portal. We do. Okay. Tomorrow we have to look at a couple of the World Cup. Like, my favorite part of Twitter right now is watching what fans do. Just put up the one, Rez, and then we go straight to John about the luggage. The woman with the luggage, who was a World Cup fan, who traveled into the United States to come and watch her country play. And then Skylar Sky, almost a fake name. I came to America with 2 suitcases. I now have 4. These extra 2 cases are filled with ranch, variety of seasonings, Chick-fil-A sauce, Reese's peanut butter cups, beef jerky, root beer, Gatorade, Kraft mac and cheese, pancakes, syrup, and she meant Pop-Tarts right there. There she has the 4 suitcases, the luggage, 2 of them to take back things that we, of course, healthy food that we have here in America.
So you pointed out her name, and I immediately thought, sounds like a porn star, and I think she is. So,
well, she can still have opinions.
No, I didn't say otherwise. I'm just saying that sounded like the name of an OnlyFans account, and it is. So,
all right, let's put that one up again then.
Good promotion for her, and I'm sure her bank account will appreciate it. But I mean, okay. So we're so deep into this now that I do hope that a lot of this is on the up and up, like Freddie and his excursions. No. And I also am kind of weary of some of the new ones that are trying to like follow that vibe,
knowing they're going to get thousands.
Yeah. But it was more fun when it was a little bit clearer on who was legitimately coming over here, because now I kind of have to side eye of like, are you not just from like Massachusetts and you're pretending to be from Finland to get a bunch of accounts? I don't know.
Well, let me look her up again then. I probably need to take a deeper look into this. Sky. Well, okay. All right.
So glad she enjoyed herself. And I totally do get that though. The peanut butter cups. Yep. Ranch dressing. Yep. Gatorade. Yep. Like, I'm sure that's quite the experience for all the folks, Europeans, Africans, Asians, everybody that's come over here, all of the delectables we have here in America. That's been really fun to see them discover or experience. Very fun.
Oh, my. Well, she even retweeted Freddie.
Okay, so, great.
Yeah. Freddie has what? He deleted his account? Freddie did? Oh, well.
John McClain's on the line.
John McClain, Hall of Fame columnist on with us, the Smoke Show on 365 Sports. John, we got distracted there when when Craig brought up OnlyFans, I'm sorry, we just completely lost track of where we were. All right, I'm not sure if you saw, I'm sure you did, the note with Sorsby. Everything's been settled. He's going to wait till the spring, all of that, and anything he has done will not be used against him as far as a suspension, unless, of course, he goes down the bad road again, then everything comes back. Your thoughts?
First of all, I'm sick of Brendan Sorsby. I hope we don't have to hear anything about him until the combine next year and his pro day and his private workouts. Wish him the best on his recovery. But I don't think most people give a rat's you-know-what about Brendan Sorsby when we're witnessing one of the greatest World Cups in history. I've watched almost every match. I've tweeted, I've read, I'm all caught up in it. We're bidding in 2038. Can't imagine that we wouldn't get it, although they're expanding. They think the field of 48. But yesterday, they're saying is one of the greatest, if not the greatest, day and night in World Cup history because the two penalty shootouts. I lost so much respect for Germany. People were saying they got robbed because the referee disallowed a goal because of interference with the keeper. But then it turned out German players, some of them didn't want to take the penalty kicks. They didn't want to put the pressure. Same thing happened to the Netherlands. I'm glad they're gone. And talking about things with fans, last night I saw something I've never seen. And in Mexico, Mexico's never lost at home in a World Cup. And last night, the Mexican fans found out what hotel the Ecuador team was staying. And they went and turned on horns, honked their horns in their car engines all night to try to keep the Ecuadorian players awake. And you wonder, where was the police? I'm surprised they didn't have their sirens going because they're all so fanatical down there. It'd be great when we're watching tonight and we see during the hydration breaks, the Ecuador players are over there going, never seen anything like it.
Yeah, they need some extra smelling salts to just keep awake. I like that you said, like, where were the police, but not in like, where were they to try to take care of this? Like, where were they to make it louder and make it even more rowdy than it already was? Yeah, absolutely. Have you adopted a team? Is there a particular team outside of USA where you found yourselves kind of looking in their direction and rooting for them?
Absolutely, and I picked them to win the tournament, and they got eliminated last night on penalty kicks. I wanted an underdog. I went with the Netherlands. The fans from the Netherlands, Norway, and Scotland were the best. And right now, Scotland's gone home. The Netherlands are on their way home. And Norway, with the Viking row, is what we've got left. And I'll bet you the Minnesota Vikings, who already do the skull chant, fans will be doing instead of the wave, because they're one of the worst stadiums in football doing the wave mainly because they do it too much. They need to start the Viking row.
Yeah, there's so many of those traditions of fans and what they do, and that Viking row is awesome.
I think that's relatively new, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think that's actually relatively new. I'm not positive. Don't hold me to that, but I thought I read that. Yeah, the Vikings need to bring Gunnar Holland to like the first game with a couple of his teammates and like have a tutorial for the Viking row for the Vikings fans to adopt. I think that'd be a great promotion in week 1 or whenever their first home game is.
Let him bang on that big drum. They have a celebrity or a former player come up there to the upper deck and pound that drum. Can you imagine if Holland was there doing that? Man, oh man, he'd be a superstar. Over here, I heard somebody say, Dave, boy, the money he could make in WWE.
Yeah.
By the way, Craig, tell the Rangers to slow down a little bit, will you?
Oh, my.
Can't cool them down, John.
Please, that winning streak's enough.
They need it. They sure as heck need it, because I don't know how you feel down in Houston, but the apathy was already setting in, and it's not July 4th, which is always a really bad sign. But now, like, they're turning it on, thankfully, and they needed to, because otherwise, I don't know how much people were going to stick along for the ride.
Top 4 teams separated by 3 games. Anybody could win it other than the Angels. I hope it comes down to the Rangers and the Astros neck and neck to get in the playoffs and win the division.
I would love that. There was nothing, and I know it wasn't great for Astros fans, but them playing each other the year the Rangers won the World Series, but that was just incredible. Like, I know that rivalry was kind of manufactured once the Astros especially came over to the American League, and it didn't feel all that natural, but man, by the time we got around to that, like that was just bad blood baseball, and I don't know that I'll ever feel the feelings I had during that series.
When the Astros played the Rangers, I used to hear talk show hosts here go, wow, look at what great travelers those Astro fans are. Going up to the Rangers game, making so much noise. And I want to say, you idiot, the Astros were the Metroplex's team from 1962 till the Brad Corbett moved to Texas. So there's a lot of generation of fans that grew up there as Astro fans. So it's not just people getting in their cars and driving to Arlington. And there is a fan base there, like there's a fan base here for the Cardinals still, because the Cardinals used to be the top minor league team for the Cardinals, and people love them. And they were the Houston Buffs. But the Astros, boy, they drive you crazy. I know the Rangers do too. It's a great thing. The division is terrible.
John, when did you move to Houston to start working for the Chronicle?
1976. I worked for the Tribune Herald. I went to the Trib in June of 73. Was hired by Hollis Biddle to work for him and Dave Campbell. I left in October of 75. By the way, I have to say something here. Our 44th softball reunion in Waco this past weekend, we got hammered twice by the Ken Suri coached younger guys, because a lot of our younger guys did not show up, but it was fair and square. And Doug McNamee came by.
Awesome.
He came by, shook hands with everybody, met some people he didn't know, hung around afterward. And I know you guys know Doug real well, and I was very, very impressed with him and his vision for Baylor, not just Baylor football, but Baylor overall. And I always thank Baylor for letting us play on the women's softball field. We've been doing it since it opened, when former AD Tom Stanton, who got that complex built, allowed us to start playing on there.
Okay, you said you got hammered twice, but how did the
softball go? That's a good one.
Yeah.
I needed to get hammered after the softball game when we have our annual dinner at the Hall of Fame, but I'm too old to do that anymore. But I always have a great time. I've been to Waco now 3 times in like the last 6 weeks, and I've had a blast with my friends and family members. And even losing those softball games, 23-5 and 19-13, we always have a lot of fun.
Well, it was a good showing for the fans who love offense, it sounds like, to see the scoring. And we do appreciate the invite. Sorry couldn't be there, but I'm glad to hear that it went really well. And I know it's a great yearly thing and a lot of fun. And that's cool that Doug McNamee stopped by, that he would even take the time. I think he is very smart, John. I think he's also acknowledged that they are – I've been saying for the longest time, Baylor's size is what hurts it in this era. They just don't have the extra tens of thousands of alumni to all contribute a few bucks here and there, and you can't really make up for that. But I think if anybody can kind of understand the business side and how to best utilize what they are, it's a guy like him who understands the ins and outs of both sides of that pendulum there. So if anybody's going to figure it out and put them in the best position, I do feel like it's going to be Doug McNamee that probably does.
I agree 100%, and he is pointed in the right direction about everything he thinks and everything he knows about Baylor, and that's a guy that's having to talk to a lot of people, as you can imagine, all over the state, and I'm behind Doug McNamee 100%.
Yeah, very curious about this upcoming season. It's going to be interesting. Not to put a damper on things, but the Chris Johnson news – they came out yesterday dealing with ALS, and it's hard because you see so many people like, stay strong, man, but if you know what that disease is like, it's just like it's just the absolutely worst thing imaginable. I don't know, there's not really so much a question, I guess, outside of just memories of Chris Johnson, not where they were sending him off just yet, but just an awful story and what a great player he was. I can't imagine being such an incredible athlete and then having to deal with something that affects your body the way ALS does.
Yeah, a year ago he was doing scouting And he came out of East Carolina. Nobody realized what the Titans had. He had a 2,000-yard season, set the all-time record for yards from scrimmage, and played there, I believe, 7 seasons. We had a nose guard here, Glenn Montgomery from the Oilers, part of those great Oiler teams that went to the playoffs 7 years in a row under Jack Bardee and Jerry Glanville, and he died of ALS. O.J. Begance. O.J.'s from Rice and Houston. He played for the Ravens. He suffered from ALS, and the Ravens kept him working, provided for him to be able to come to work every day, to where it was a point where he could communicate by his eyes. And I can't imagine anything more insidious than ALS. It just blows me away. We first heard about it as Lou Gehrig's disease, I believe in 39, and we still don't have a cure.
Terrion Arnold, wow. I mean, he's done. Detroit's gotten rid of him. Obviously, this was some horrible stuff in details. We're not sure about all of it, but man, a pretty bright young star who's like basically just run into a proverbial brick wall.
Making millions of dollars. Those morons, it's amazing. They had stuff on YouTube that I'm thinking, what are you thinking? Well, they're not, because they're nincompoops and geranium brains. And you know what? He will get signed by another team. I would imagine multiple teams will be interested in him. And they'll say, well, he didn't kill anybody. You know what? There have been players who killed people and they still came back. Because if people think you can play, they'll take you. He deserves a second chance. Oh, well, all right, he deserves a third, fourth, or fifth chance. And that's one of the things I don't like about the NFL, where they'll keep giving chances to these scumbags if they think they're going to be able to help him. And he was making millions. He's a good player. I admire the heck out of the Lions, because when it first happened, they defended him like crazy. And then they dug into it. Boom, he's gone. Can't wait to see where he lands.
Yeah, I mean, innocent until proven guilty, but reading that story, he's got a tough road to climb. And even, and John, the whole taking back thing, like if what is alleged to be true, I don't think he's going to have the opportunity to have a second chance in the NFL. I think he'd probably be put away for a little while, but we will see on that as they go through all that, because there's other conspirators. But yeah, I saw the video of him after he got probation. Or not probation, but what is it? He was able to bond out. He's able to bond out, and he was smiling because I think he thought like, all right, great, I'm out of here. And then I think it was shortly after the Lions were like, see ya, pal. And that was probably the wake-up call he needed at that moment.
Well, you got good attorneys, as he did. The prosecutor wanted him held until the trial, and he got Harvey Steinberg from Denver, got him out $1 million bond. When Henry Ruggs gets out on parole from that prison after he killed a woman and her dog by speeding, there will be teams interested in him.
No, I think you're right. Yep. And he'll only be like, what, 27 years old, or probably maybe I can't even remember. But yeah, I think you're absolutely right on that. Yep. So we'll see on Terrion Arnold.
All right. So World Cup has taken storm. I'm not a big soccer guy. I'm not going to all of a sudden start following some league.
You're not adopting like Liverpool or something as your team?
Or whoever. No, I'm not. But I got to tell you, just watching the fans who came into the country and how they're enjoying all of this, at least up until now, has been a nice breath of fresh air to me, John.
I love that America looks so good. I like that Houston and Dallas look so good. There's so much enthusiasm. Carol and I get real fired up for the World Cup every 4 years. 3 years ago, we started going to Liverpool's home bar in Houston, and Liverpool's our favorite team in the Premier League. And there's some great, I know so many friends who don't give a hoot about it and are happy to say they don't. But as somebody pointed out, if only 20% of America is interested in the World Cup, that's still, 68 million people, which is more than France and Britain and a lot of countries that are fanatical about it. Anything that's good for America, I'm for. And on our 250th anniversary, this is perfect timing.
All right, so a question for you, then we got to let you go, and we do appreciate your time. The upset yesterday of Germany, it's known as one of the biggest upsets of all time. What would that compare? Like in college football, the examples were Appalachian State beating Michigan. What would it be in NFL terms? Joe Namath and the Jets beating Baltimore in the third Super Bowl?
That was 20-point underdogs, Jets, after Green Bay had won the first two Super Bowls. The biggest upset in history, the Miracle on Ice. It wasn't quite equivalent to the Miracle on Ice because it came down to penalty kicks, but it's still people in Germany. There's a lot of beer being drunk while they drown their sorrows. They'll probably fire their coach. And the fact is, they could have made those penalty kicks if they hadn't chickened out with some of their players.
Didn't want to take the kick?
What's that?
Some of the best
Germany, yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
If that's true, and it looks like it is based on the various reports, that's just good luck to them heading back to the homeland. But yeah, that's the kind of stuff.
I wonder if they get the treatment like Uruguay got when they canceled the charter
make their own flights back home.
Yeah.
That if you were too chicken to take the big penalty kick in the World Cup, I think that's the least that the German government could say is you guys got to find your way back home. That's not the kind of players we want. Yeah.
I can't believe the manager asked. Why didn't he just tell him you're first, second, third, fourth, fifth?
Yep. And the poor guy that kicked it out of the stadium had never done that before, had never been put in that position. John, we appreciate you, buddy. Thank you so much. Glad the softball game went well, except the loss, but have a great rest of your week.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Craig. I'll talk to you next week.
John McClain, the first time since 2018 that 2 top 10 FIFA teams have been eliminated in the opening round of the knockout stage in the World Cup.
That's fun. That's a big loss for Germany, and I know that they're kind of in the mirror looking long and deep at how they need to reorganize or improve because they've had some consistently now poor showings for their level of expectations and have kind of fallen out of the world elite as far as the top national teams go. So, wake up call for them. Guess it could be worse. You could be Uruguay, but looking forward to seeing Team USA again here pretty soon. And just Mexico, Ecuador tonight ought to be an incredible atmosphere, worth watching for at least a few minutes, if not depending on how good the game is, the whole thing. So I will be tuned in.
France was up 2-0. One final thing from the World Cup. We told you about Uruguay having their charter flight canceled. How about Paraguay, the president, signing a decree that today was a national holiday? There he is with his jersey, fandom, signed a decree, national team over 4-time champion Germany, a national holiday across Paraguay throughout the day today.
Actually, you get our president to give Super Bowl Monday off. That's what I would like to see for good old USA. But maybe if Team USA wins the World Cup, that could be their request to be like, yeah, by the way, how about we get to celebrate every Monday after the Super Bowl is now a national holiday. That would be great. Or just give us a bonus one because Team USA won the World Cup, so we get like an extra Friday off. That'd be cool too. But either way, this has been a fun tournament so far.
Presidents of universities, when there's a big upset or something like that happens, they give the students on a Monday off. All right. We go straight to a couple of super chats. Is that right, Rez? We have a couple of super chats to get to, and then we'll do the wheel, the quizzes, and also the polls. From your pet cat again, well, it's my now 75-year-old mother's. So I'm giving you money for some reason. She is a big Vols fan as well as Georgia Tech fan. She's married in. Now 4.99 won't work again. Ugh. Your pet cat again. Thanks for the super chat.
I think maybe birthday's missing or something. Your 75-year-old mother's birthday.
It had to be.
So if so, then happy birthday to her. And regardless, your pet cat again. Go Vols. And go Yellow Jackets.
Georgia Tech and Tennessee, that's a couple of pretty good teams.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So we did not rig the $4.99 button to not work, by the way. So we're appreciative of anything. Don't know why that wouldn't work for you, but thanks so much for the $9.99.
All right, let's go to the second one from today, Bracket Cat. $4.30 plus a bonus of 69 cents to 365 Sports, YouTube, and David SMOAK. In honor of my 43rd birthday today, a very happy Ema Kansas State fan that he is. Bracket Cat, thank you.
Yeah, that's That's a bonus. There is probably for Smokey and looking up Skylar Sky or whatever. But
yeah, I know.
We do appreciate it as always, Bracket Cat, and happy birthday. Happy birthday. Hope you're having a great one. And if not, I hope it becomes great by the end of the day. But shout out to you on another big candle day there.
All right, let's get to the wheel that Andrew Valet dials up and Rez pushes a button.
Cake day is what I meant. Cake day, not candle day.
And here we go with the wheel.
Oh. All right. Let's see here.
Which fast food? Not even close.
Which fast food chain has the best drive-through experience? No, like we can all say it on three. 1, 2, 3. Chick-fil-A. Yeah, absolutely.
I have said this, that if every business in America hired Chick-fil-A to help them with their efficiency and customer service, everybody would be loaded with money and have all the customers they'd ever want.
And they also have Sundays off as well.
Yeah.
So that would be nice. But yeah, no, Chick-fil-A, I think, is like the gold standard. I've had a couple moments here recently, and I think it's just because it's a newer staff that's probably been in. It's still better than like anything I've had at McDonald's in years, or certainly Whataburger. It's just, that's always been a long wait. Whataburger, they always just take longer. It used to be because everything was like freshly made and everything. Now it's just because I don't know, but it's different since they got bought by like the Chicago company or whatever that bought Whataburger, to me at least. But theirs is always kind of long. Everybody else just sort of varies. Chick-fil-A is still, even on a slow day, faster than everybody else. And their average. So yeah, give me Chick-fil-A without question.
I don't go to fast food restaurants often. I have recently in the last week dropped by a Whataburger. I just said, I'm going to get myself a double meat cheeseburger. That's it. But watching what they've done with the way they do the drive-through with the kids at the front, and it's just unbelievable. It really, really is. So Chick-fil-A would be my top, Craig's top, most everybody's. Bonus, which has the worst? I don't really have one in particular that I would say is the worst.
So Whataburger, from a time standpoint, can be pretty long sometimes. And I feel like that was always sort of the case. You're always in the drive-through lane for a while. But even if you do mobile app, and it's maybe just locations around here, but it just takes entirely too long, I feel like. And I still love Whataburger. It's not quite the same as what before they got bought out by the private equity a few years ago, when it was just like a Texas thing. Or not that they were solely here, but they was just more based and ran in Texas. And that could be my mind just playing tricks on me, that like the burgers were juicier and the fries were crispier. But I don't know. Whataburger just in general has always taken a lot longer. McDonald's takes long for no reason. Like whenever I go to McDonald's, there's nobody in the drive-thru, and it's still, they're like, can you pull to the side? Because there's one car behind me. And I'm like, I ordered the simplest thing. It's chicken nuggets and fries. Like, and you're having me go to the side because there's one more car. It's been 15 minutes. Like, that's driven me bonkers at McDonald's. So I'd say them right now, actually, of the ones I've experienced.
My chat room is not allowing me to negotiate or maneuver. I don't see anybody else if they put up. Brahms is quick.
Okay.
But Chick-fil-A.
Haven't been to a Brahms in a while, but it was always good. Always really good.
Burger King's the worst. Again, they're going to be our new sponsor at some point. All right. Thank you, Andrew, for the wheel. And let's now get to a couple of quiz questions. And the first one, track and field legend Jesse Owens made history at the 1936 Berlin Olympics. How many gold medals did he win while crushing Nazi propaganda?
Do you recall how many he won?
I was going to say 6, but I think it's 4.
I'm going to say that's wrong then, yeah.
I think 4 because he may have won not only 1 or 2 sprints, a relay, and perhaps the long jump.
Yeah, I mean, there was definitely some propaganda going on during this Olympic Games. A very strange Olympics from the standpoint it was being held in Nazi Germany, and Hitler was there overseeing it all and everything. Just crazy time in history. But I'll go with 4. That's good with me, yeah.
I think so. I'm going to go with 4. I was trying to see if I could find it.
Are you looking up to see if you were right?
I can't find it.
Okay.
4. There we are.
So you were looking it up. You said you can't find it, though.
No. I was going to look it up after the answer.
Okay.
Now 4 was going to be my answer.
All right,
Always
we don't
won
want to do
4
that.
goals, 100, 200 long jump, and the 4x100. His historic run was nearly derailed by 2 early long jump fouls, but German rival Lust Long, his foot placement tip saved his tournament and sparked a lifelong friendship. His 4 gold feet stood as an American record for nearly 50 years until Carl Lewis did it. University of Houston's Carl Lewis matched in 1984.
All right.
Yep.
Go Cougs.
There was a meme about yesterday's German soccer loss with showed Hitler in the stands watching.
Oh, that's from an incredible movie. It's called Downfall, and if you can bear subtitles, it's an incredible movie on the last days in the bunker. And they forget is it Bruno something that plays Hitler is fantastic in it. It's a really good movie if you like World War II stuff. Much recommended for me. But yeah, there you go. 4 gold medals. Got that right.
Number 2 quiz question. Craig, you read this one.
In their only international soccer meeting before reunification, which side came out on top in the politically charged 74 World Cup group stage clash between East and West Germany? I don't know at the top. I know East Germany was the big steroid-taking cheaters, right?
They're the ones that started winning a
Like
bucket
the
load of gold
Soviets.
medals in the Olympics like Russia did.
Yeah, they were on that Soviet steroid program.
have
So
no idea.
I would be inclined to say them, but then the
I
good
don't
story
know
would
if it
actually
was
be
really full throttle yet for East Germany in the early 70s with the performance enhancing drug. I don't know. I don't care. I don't have a clue. I got a quarter in my pocket.
No, I'm just trying to figure out. Go East Germany, I guess, but I'm feeling that's wrong.
All right. It is. We got it.
In a massive Cold War upset, amateur underdog East Germany won 1-0 thanks to a 77th minute goal by Jürgen Sparwasser. Due to strict political sensitivities, players were banned from swapping jerseys on the pitch and had to do it secretly in the tunnel. Nothing was secret in Germany. What? In the tunnel. Ironically, the loss woke up a superstar West German squad who regrouped to win the entire World Cup. Wow. Okay. Cool.
They won it in 50. West Germany won it in 54, 74, like they said, 1990 and 2014. So, yeah, that was a shocking upset with East Germany winning.
Well, West Germany wouldn't have won it in 2014. That would have been Germany that won it in 2014. They were very much reunified by that point. It had been
but the fact that they won it the same year they lost to East Germany, West Germany did was awesome.
That's cool. But, that was very much just Germany for the later years there.
All right. So we went 2-0 again today, 177 votes. Thank you for being a part of Andrew Valades and our poll questions. Quiz questions. Let's get to your poll results. Where will LeBron? I think this is pretty simple, but where will LeBron play next year? I think the Warriors. I think it's all that's got too much smoke to it. So I think the Warriors.
That does seem to have a lot of the conversation right now, and. Yeah, so the big thing that led people in that direction was they're trying to get him back with Anthony Davis potentially, and also he can play with Steph. So you got LeBron and Steph, like the 2 biggest stars of the last decade on the same team together. And that does nothing for me. I mean, not a lot in the NBA really would, and LeBron related. I don't want him on the Mavericks. Like granted, I'm not a fan anymore, but even if I was, I wouldn't want the charity end of your career run. So the Warriors make sense.
He can never play for the Mavericks after what he did with Miami.
Well, he's not
going
to play somewhere where he doesn't have a chance at a title. Now I know the Cavaliers were very good, and the Heat. I feel like they probably, if he joined them, probably be much better in a short amount of time. But the Warriors. There's a lot of signs pointing there, so I'll go with that as well.
Yep. I agree.
And that would be typical him to go jump on another team and try to win a title with some new super. Hey, you didn't start with a super team, although you got to one pretty quickly. Might as well end on a super team, although it's the oldest super team we've ever seen with all those guys having aged a lot since they were in their primes.
He actually plays a lot more games and starts more than Kawhi Leonard has the last few years.
That's not saying I've almost played as many as Kawhi Leonard has, it feels like.
All right, great answers from you. 50% Warriors. Second poll question from Andrew. What is your favorite historical patriotic film to watch on the 4th?
This is a revision of yesterday?
In a way.
Yeah.
Yeah, in a little bit. But he added Saving Private Ryan into the mix. We got a lot of votes.
Yeah, Born on the 4th of July is probably a little bit tougher given some of the subject matter on a really super patriotic day, but maybe not. Maybe you can look at some of that as maybe it's just not like glowingly it's all good all the time, everything's great like that, but more of a look at like, yeah, not everything's always great all the time, but that's also part of the American fabric, and part of what makes this country great is that you can have the right to feel the way you feel, and I think Born on the 4th of July is one of the many Cruise great movies over the years, but to me it's Saving Private Ryan. I love The Patriot as well. And that one's a bit more, I could see on the 4th of July, a bit more on the nose, maybe for some people. But yeah, I love Saving Private Ryan's like my second favorite movie ever. So I would say that one. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Patriot mentioned by quite a bit of those of you in the chat. General Ursus, Born on the 4th of July is my favorite pick. All right.
It's a great movie. And I think that's definitely worth checking out if you've never watched it. But all good. I don't know what 1776 is. I was trying to look at what that is, but I don't know that I've ever seen that. No, I definitely haven't, because it is a historical music drama from the 70s. So I have definitely not seen that. But the other three, any of them would work.
So 47% The Patriot, Mel Gibson, Saving Private Ryan, Tom Hanks, and a great group to 85 of the 100% of the vote. All right, thank you, Andrew. As always, great way to end it, the wheel, quizzes, and the polls. Rez, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Andrew Valade and Garrett Ross. Craig, have a great day. Back tomorrow, we will have Texas State President Kelly Damphousse will join us. Tonight at midnight, the Pac-12 will have new teams, including the folks in San Marcos, Texas. For Craig Smoak, I'm David Smoak. Thank you for your time. Good night, 365 Sports.
Petty Clinic Men's Healthcare in Woodway is now proud to offer you men an exceptional weight management body sculpting product called semaglutide, also known as Ozempic or Wegovy. Semaglutide is an FDA-approved weight management medication. Once-a-week injections of this powerful medication offers an average body fat weight loss of 20% within the first year of treatment. In addition to body sculpting, semaglutide also normalizes blood sugars and has the clinical research proof of reducing blood pressure, cholesterol, stroke, and heart attack risk. If you're like most men and you have stubborn fat that will just not respond to typical diets and exercise, then help is finally here. Semaglutide, affordable, highly effective. Google search Petty Clinic Waco and reach out to the Petty Clinic team today for a free consultation with Dr. Petty to see if semaglutide is right for you. Go to pettycliniclowt.com.
Whatever it is you wrangle, whatever seeds you sow, no matter what you nurture or what you choose to grow, at Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, we're proud to protect all Texans.
When you play hard, sometimes you fall hard. Sports injuries require special treatment. At Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, our team of expert doctors provides athletes and active adults with comprehensive sports medicine care, diagnostics. Whether you're in high school, college, or beyond, we'll help you get back on the field. Call on the team physicians for Baylor Athletics. Call Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics.
I pitched in the major leagues for 24 years, and let me tell you, I can feel it in my joints. Shoulders, elbows, and knees. Trust me, pain doesn't retire when you do. I tried everything to get rid of the pain. Nothing worked until QC Kinetics.
Baseball legend Roger Clemens and other patients are getting lasting relief with QC Kinetics regenerative treatments. No surgery.
I trust QC Kinetics. You should too. Let's commit to getting rid of all the pain.
Schedule your free consultation today. QC Kinetics. Better starts here.